Chapter 1378. Sarojbar looked at Dustless in a daze, and there was some anger in his heart. He was the strongest demon of the younger generation, but Dustless's contemptuous tone didn't put him in his eyes at all. What he meant was that if they started fighting, he could finish him off in an instant. Creak. Creak. Saratog clenched his fists so tightly that veins popped out on his fists. His palms were sweating, and the crackling sounds from his fingers made everyone's heart skip a beat. Why are there so many monsters? Hito Issei wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He suddenly realized that the confidence he had built up with so much effort had crumbled once again. Compared to this group of people, you are indeed pitifully weak. The Red Dragon Emperor Drake did not hold back at all. Compared to Dustless and the others, Hito Issei was a single-celled organism. He was just a weakling. Swoosh. Swoosh. A violent explosion sounded, and Saratog's body made crackling sounds like lightning. His aura rose to a level that made everyone feel suffocated. This guy is very strong, Touching Blacksong frowned and looked at him cautiously. She felt a sense of danger from Saratog's body, as if he could destroy her at any time. Swoosh. Swoosh. Saratog dove down like lightning, and his huge fists went straight for Dustless. They started fighting just like that? Everyone was stunned. They did not expect the fight to be so simple. This guy is so cunning. He actually launched a sneak attack first. Despicable. Zhu Nai and the others were so angry that they stomped their feet. They all felt that it was unfair for Dustless. Launching a sneak attack without saying anything was too shameless. Even Riaz, Saratog's cousin, was unhappy with him. So slow, it might have been a flash in the eyes of others, but in Dustless's eyes, it was as slow as a turtle crawling. Let me test how hard your body is. Saratog shouted. His fist that could flatten a mountain was about to land on Dustless's face, but a seemingly weak arm easily caught it. Stop fooling around. Brat. A small hand that was only a quarter of Saroj's size calmly blocked the sharp edge of the fist, and the fist with the pressure of Mount Tai was unable to move forward in the slightest. This. Gulp, how is this possible? Saroj was tongue-tied as his internal organs violently jumped. He subconsciously looked at Dustless. This snow-white hand that was comparable to a woman's belonged to him. Dustless looked straight at Saroj without any ripples in his eyes as he explained in a soft voice, "It's just a game of words. You can play it casually, but if you go beyond this boundary, the flavor will change. Especially when you raise your fist. I can kill you at any time." His pitch-black eyes were as bright as the moon. His calm tone was filled with confidence, but it caused Black Ge's eyes to light up. He felt as if he had just woken up from a dream. TSK. I didn't expect this kid to care about me so much. It's not bad to make a baby with him. De Shanghaegu pursed her lips. She did not have any prejudice against her partner as long as he was strong enough. Dustless was a perfect fit. It was far more fitting than anyone else he had met before. Are you looking down on me? Why aren't you fighting back? Saroj pulled back his fist with an ugly expression. His old face was burning with pain. Dustless's words hurt even more than a beating. You're right to understand it that way. The gap is indeed too big. You should have tested it out just now. Dustless casually gave an excuse. The so-called strongest young demon was just a so-so. Whether or not he could even close the White Dragon Emperor Wally was a problem. Humph. Hearing this, Saroj's eyes flashed with a scarlet color. He raised his lowered arm again as his veins popped out. This time, he gathered even more strength and smashed it at Dustless. Stubborn brat. Seeing this, Dustless gave him a hopeless look. This time, he was even more ruthless as he simply raised a thumb. Boom boom boom. A huge vibration spread out and the entire mansion trembled. The force was so great that Riaz and the others thought that Dustless's thumb would be broken. Who would have thought that the result was so shocking? Dustless only used one finger to block Saroj's attack. That was my full attack? And this time it was just one finger? Saroj was shocked beyond words. His lips trembled as he looked at Dustless suspiciously. He suddenly suspected that Dustless used some kind of mysterious tool to weaken his power. That was why he did not react at all. What's there to be surprised about? Do you even need to think about this? The result is obvious. You didn't use your full strength just now, and I didn't use my full strength either. So this result is not surprising. Dustless shrugged as he explained it as it should be. At the same time, his eyes were focused on the figure in the corner. After carefully sensing it, he frowned. This guy was like a poisonous snake in human skin. On the surface, he was warm and sunny, but on the inside, he was cold and vicious. I seem to have seen this guy before. I remember his name is Theodora Astaroth. I heard that he is a relative of the current Demon King. His background and origin are very scary. Dustless said to himself. He deliberately raised his voice and focused everyone's eyes on Theodora. Greetings, everyone. Noticing the gaze, Theodora also knew that he could not continue to hide, so he took the initiative to greet them with a warm smile. A poisonous snake in human skin. This is very similar to Sosuke Aizen, but your strength is 1,000 miles away from the others. Chapter 1379. When the observation hockey is practiced to the limit, it can also see through the other party's mind. Just like Dustless, he has already vaguely seen Theodora's purpose. You even want to hit Aisha, your strength is a bit weak, but your courage is not small. A cold light flashed, Dustless's gaze shifted to Theodora's head, with a playful smile on his face, his lips squirmed slightly. When he was about to ridicule him, someone spoke first. This place is not suitable for you, Theodora, Riasa's cousin Saroj said coldly. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes narrowed slightly, touched his chin and said, "It seems that the relationship between these two people is just a so-so, maybe they can help me deal with him. This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you." Theodora's face always maintained a smile, giving people a very warm feeling. People who don't know him will really think that he is a gentleman, but in fact, his heart is black. Ingen is her. Theodora secretly glanced at Aisha and cleared his throat. When he was about to talk to Aisha, Saroj's impatient tone stopped him. "If there is nothing else, please leave quickly, I still want to fight with that guy." His tone was obviously a bit harsher. Being disturbed rashly and suffering a loss in the hands of Dustless, Saroj was now angry. "I'm going to say no." Theodora was fearless. Instead, he disdainfully curled his lips. He is the blood relative of the current Demon King, Beelzebub, and the next head of the Astaroth family. There is no need to be afraid of Saroj. Not only that, Theodora felt that he could use Saroj to show off his strength. Two idiots spit at each other. Wu Chen sat on the chair lazily and crossed his legs calmly. He stared at the two of them with a malicious look, as if he was a bystander. This is a duel between the second generation of officials. It has nothing to do with him, an outsider. Do you want to be beaten? Frowning, Saroj asked gloomily. Dustless has not washed away the shame he gave him, and this idiot came to talk back to him again. It was the unlucky rhythm of being targeted by ghosts when they went out. Humph, if you want to fight, then get out of here. Don't disturb my proposal. Diodora, whose face was flushed red, refused to back down. Propose? Hearing this, Dustless's eyes emitted a cold murderous aura, and the surrounding temperature immediately dropped. Forget it if you want to propose to Aisha. Dustless revealed his deep three-tomo Sharingan, radiating a demonic brilliance, and smiled more devilishly than a demon. Propose? Who do you want to propose to? Saroj's murderous aura froze for a moment. He took a closer look and realized that there was no one else but Riasa's family. Humph, that's none of your business. Diodora snorted and walked up to Aisha. Her face was full of adoration. Dear Aisha Algert, to be honest, I've admired you for a long time. When I heard that you were in danger when you first came to the demon realm, I was so anxious that I couldn't eat or sleep well. I even organized an army of demons to save you. Is this guy an idiot? Can someone explain to me what he's doing? Is there something wrong with his brain? I think there's something wrong with his brain. He's mumbling to a wall for no reason. Is he crazy? How can this idiot be the heir of the Astaroth family? He must be the last patriarch. Ha 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 ha. This idiot is killing me. He's proposing to a wall? The unbridled mockery spread. Diodora frowned and was about to scold them when she suddenly realized that the person who was proposing to her, Aisha, had turned into a wall. What the F***ck is going on? Why am I proposing to a wall? Where's Miss Aisha? Diodora, who came to her senses, shouted in shock. She then recalled everyone's mockery, and her old face twitched. Her eyes were bloodshot. Diodora was so depressed that she almost vomited blood, and her breathing sped up. Not only was her reputation completely ruined, but she had actually proposed to a wall with deep affection. In the future, her name would definitely be passed down in the demon world, and future generations would talk about it with relish. On the other hand, Aisha was already standing behind Dustless at some point in time. You bastard, being played around like a monkey, Diodora finally could no longer maintain her fake appearance of being handsome. Her face was distorted as she looked at Dustless and Aisha. What, you don't want to continue acting? Dustless asked teasingly as he chewed on an apple. He even gave her a thumbs up and said, "Come on, you can propose to a wall so brilliantly. The best actor title will be yours in the future. It must be you who did it, right? It's definitely you." Diodora roared like she was at the top of her lungs. Not only did her plan to show off in front of Aisha completely fail, but she even treated him as if he was an idiot. He was an idiot who was trying to please the crowd. So what if it's me? So what if it's not me? Looking at Diodora's fierce gaze that seemed to want to eat him alive, Dustless asked, unmoved. So what? What a joke. You have to understand that I'm a blood relative of the Demon King, Beelzebub, and this is the underworld. What do you think will happen if you offend a relative of the Demon King? Diodora asked fiercely, a fierce light flashing in her eyes. Just as she was about to threaten Dustless, a strong figure resolutely blocked her way, looking at Diodora's fierce gaze without fear. Chapter 1380. Dustless's crimson hair fluttered in the wind, exuding a mesmerizing fragrance. As the hair was too long, it drooped on his cheeks, making the willow fragrance even clearer. He could not help but take a few more sniffs. Riaz, Dustless could not help but sigh as he stared blankly at the girl in front of him. This was the first time in his life that he was protected by a woman. This feeling was exceptionally deep. But it was undeniable that Dustless was very happy. Get this straight. He's my fiancé. Is there a need for him to be afraid of you? Theodora. Riaz answered domineeringly. Her cold gaze was fearless as she stared at Theodora. Her aura was even stronger than his. You, seeing this, Theodora's face twisted even more, almost turning into a fried dough twist. Theodora glared fiercely at Riaz. She could ignore everyone's feelings, but Riaz was an exception. Her brother was also one of the 4 demon lords, and his strength was unfathomable. There were rumors that Sazak's strength was 10 times that of the previous demon lord. Just thinking about it made Theodora's heart skip a beat. Bastard, do you only dare to hide behind a woman? Come out if you have the guts. Theodora pointed at Dustless and roared in anger. She rubbed her teeth as if she was about to grind them to pieces. Me? Come out? If I don't come out, are you going to bite me? Dustless shrugged and said provocatively, of course, if you have the ability, you can jump over and hit me. Hearing this, Theodora went berserk on the spot. She was so angry that her whole body creaked. This was the most tragic thing in the world. The enemy was right in front of you, but you did not have the ability to touch him. When it came to backing, Riaz was much stronger than Theodora. I'm not going to argue with you. Theodora comforted herself with a fake smile. As the descendant of the demon lord, there was no need to argue with a nobody. Her gaze finally fell on Aisha. Miss Aisha, Diodora took out an incomparably bright rose from somewhere and said with a sincere expression, "From the day I met you, I knew that in this life." At this point, Theodora did not know why, but she could not help but stop. She subconsciously looked at Dustless and saw him looking at her with a smirk. Her heart suddenly skipped a beat, and she knew that things were not going well. Then Theodora realized that her hands were empty, and the roses in her palms were all gone. "Oh my! You are so considerate. I dare say that you will buy roses for me if I need them." "Thank you so much, Your Excellency Theodora." Wuchen played with the crimson rose in his hand, and he could smell the faint fragrance. "Aisha, this is for you. I haven't been able to give you anything good. I just sent Theodora to buy you 2 blooming roses. If you like them, please accept them." Wuchen handed the roses to Isha gracefully and smiled gently. "Really? Dustless." Aisha's eyes widened instantly. She took the initiative to rub against Dustless's shoulder, and then lay on it like a cat. This is not right." Theodora was petrified on the spot. She looked at Dustless in disbelief. Her eyes were obviously saying, "Why are you using my flowers to please me? Who allowed you to do this?" Most importantly, Aisha actually believed it. Even an idiot could see that Dustless was making it up, but she actually believed it without hesitation. "How slow are you?" Theodora felt dizzy just thinking about it, and her body swayed uncontrollably. "I will kill you." Theodora, who had lost her mind, roared angrily. She waved her hand, and a dense number of magic bullets whizzed out. "You bastard!" Theodora glared at Dustless angrily. In her heart, she cursed Dustless for being a coward who did not even have the courage to fight one-on-one. He only knew how to live behind a woman. "Bite me if you have the guts." Dustless shrugged nonchalantly. If this could infuriate her to death, he would be more than happy to do it. "You forced me to do this." She clasped her hands together, and a huge magic circle suddenly appeared. She glared at Dustless fiercely, and then angrily injected a vast amount of magic power into it. The magic circle suddenly lit up. "You even dare to hit me?" Riaz asked angrily. She was still standing in front of Dustless. Hee. Hearing this, Theodora just smiled nonchalantly and said, "Miss Riaz, you can only calculate a person's true inner thoughts in such an urgent situation. If he really likes you and loves you, he will definitely not let you get hurt." Theodora decided to act shamelessly. She thought of a perfect plan that satisfied both sides. She looked at Dustless with a ferocious and proud expression. Whoosh! 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 Her expression turned cold. Countless dense lights swept out from the magic circle, and the dense light bullets bombarded Riaz continuously. If Riaz wanted to avoid it, it would be equivalent to Diodora's intention, and she would be able to hit Dustless. If Riaz insisted on holding on, she would definitely be hit. At that time, Dustless could also be half-hearted towards her and be perfunctory towards her. Boom! 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 The light exploded, and a violent explosion was set off. Even a hole was smashed in the house. Something doesn't seem right. What happened? Without a doubt, Riaz was safe and sound. All the magic bullets landed on Dustless, but there was no reaction at all. It was as if nothing had happened. Not only that, Theodora also felt extreme pain. Looking at the changes in her body, she was instantly stunned. Chapter 1381. Despite his words, Dustless was actually feeling extremely awkward. He secretly scolded Black Gu for not caring about the occasion. How could he casually mention this kind of hobby? He was obviously trying to trick him. Then let's go take a look. Facing the eager gazes of the girls, Dustless could only compromise. He was not interested, but Zhu Nai and the rest were. He had to be considerate of their feelings. Otherwise, his harem would sooner or later be on fire. I've gotten myself into big trouble today. On the way to the banquet, Riaz approached Dustless and sighed. Her delicate little face was unusually wrinkled and sad, which made her look very lovable. My cute Riaz. Why are you sighing like that? Also, who's the one who got into big trouble? Dustless blinked and asked curiously. Hearing that, Riaz rolled her eyes and said unhappily, who is it? So far away, but so close. Dustless looked around instinctively and realized that Zhu Nai and the rest were walking in front, talking and laughing. Only he and Riaz were walking at the back. It can't be me, right? Looking at Riaz in confusion, Dustless asked, you can't be talking about that Diodora, right? Just a small character not worth mentioning, just a clown. He is indeed a clown, but you've overlooked a big problem. With a serious expression, Riaz said in a low voice, but his position is very special. Not only is he the next head of the Astaroth family, but he also has a special identity that cannot be ignored. He's the relative of the current demon king, Beelzebub. The entire underworld knew that Diodora was the relative of the demon king, but Dustless still beat him up for no reason and almost crippled his legs. What did this mean? It meant that he was directly going against the demon king. To put it bluntly, this was purposely slapping the demon king, Beelzebub, in the face. It seems very serious. He might have indirectly offended the demon king. Dustless nodded as if he understood, but his sloppy expression showed that he did not take it to heart. His bored expression of looking around was obviously just to deal with Riaz. Seeing this, Riaz did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had a headache about Dustless. Although Demon King Beelzebub would not punish Dustless, it was undeniable that Dustless was already in the Demon King's sights. There's no need to care about such a small fry. Dustless could not bear to see Riaz worried, so he comforted her. If that Demon King really comes looking for us, I'll just have to get rid of him for the sake of the people. Dustless said with a smile that was not a smile. A mere Demon King was not worth mentioning. In Dustless's words, calling you a Demon King is giving you face. If you make me unhappy, I'll beat you up like a dog in the next second. Riaz's smile became even more bitter. She was afraid that this would happen. Dustless was not the kind of person who would apologize. If a Demon King really came looking for trouble, according to Riaz's guess, Dustless would definitely destroy him. By then, there would be one less Demon King out of the four, and the entire underworld would lose its stability. The peace treaty that her brother Sazax had spent so much effort to establish would also disappear. The fall of a Demon King might cause the entire world to fall into a crisis. The people of this world are really narrow-minded. In their eyes, there are only Demon Kings and gods. Dustless could not help but shake his head. In this world where gods were everywhere, their actual strength was only so-so. Even if he met his previous enemy, Sosuke Aizen, it might have been a one-sided battle, let alone a super strong person like him who had swept through several dimensions. After a few minutes, Dustless, Riaz, and the rest finally arrived at the gathering place of the younger generation of demons. The appearance of Riaz and the rest immediately caused an uproar. However, when they saw Dustless appear, they all left in disappointment. Without a trace, they had slapped Demon King Beelzebub's old face. It would be difficult for them to survive in the underworld in the future. These guys are really fence-sitters. They'll go wherever the wind blows. Genova, Wisteria, and Rena said angrily, stomping their feet. Riaz and the rest also frowned. Their dissatisfaction was obvious. It was true that everyone would go their separate ways in the face of disaster. These people were really too snobbish. You guys are really bored. What's the point of arguing with a bunch of bugs? Dustless said nonchalantly. At this moment, he was sitting in front of the dining table, enjoying the food attentively. His image of wolfing down the food was completely ruined. At least pay attention to your etiquette. Also, find out what kind of occasion it is tonight. The Norse main god Odin and the other demon kings will be attending this gathering. A dissatisfied voice sounded. Turning around, Dustless saw a girl with a long ponytail dressed as a mage girl with a hot body glaring at him. Demon King, Leviathan, Seraphil? Dustless froze. After stuffing another piece of cake into his mouth and chewing it slowly, he pointed at the people who were pointing at him. These guys are just clowns. Do you have to respect them? Dustless hated fence-sitters who swayed according to the wind. But the main characters of tonight's banquet aren't them. It's the Demon Kings and the Norse main god. Seraphil puffed out her chest and said proudly. So what? Hearing this, Dustless pursed his lips, not caring about Seraphil's identity as Demon King. You're a Demon King too. Have I ever respected you? Pfft. The herbal tea that had just entered her mouth spurted out without a care for her image. Veins popped out on Seraphil's forehead. This guy was obviously the kind of person who liked to poke at her sore spot. Dustless not only did not respect her, he did not even take Seraphil seriously. Instead, he treated her like a joke. Not only did he not respect Seraphil, who was a demon king, he even forcibly took away her chastity. Chapter 1382. Hearing this, Diodora was furious. Ever since he met Dustless, this jinx, his glorious life had gradually fallen into a trough. Moreover, this unlucky guy was still haunting him. No matter where he was, he would go against him. If it were not for the huge difference in strength, he would definitely pounce on Dustless and strangle him to death. This guy was too infuriating. Diodora even felt that living under the same sky as Dustless for a long time would reduce his lifespan by 100 years. Diodora, you are not welcome here. Please leave immediately. Riaz walked over quickly with an unfriendly look on her face. She was extremely furious. This guy was clearly not Dustless' strength, but he still came to provoke her. He really did not know how to spell the word death. You too. Diodora's face turned green. Riaz and Dustless were in cahoots. This overpowered combination was invincible. In the future, Diodora's voice suddenly stopped. His gaze passed through the sea of people and landed on Sazax and the others who were rushing over from afar. A scheme instantly formed in his mind. This time, I will definitely kill you. With a perfect plan in mind, Diodora's eyes turned green. He stopped bickering with Dustless and turned to look at Isha, who was talking and laughing. I can't win against the two of you, but she. I can still easily take her down. Diodora locked onto Isha with evil intentions and turned into a venomous snake as he pounced. You have a death wish. Seeing this, Riaz and Dustless's eyes flashed coldly. Both of them were enraged by Diodora's shamelessness. He was a typical B***starred who bullied the weak but feared the anger. If I can't get you after so much scheming, then I might as well use force. After all, you already know my true nature. There is no need to continue hiding anything. Pulling off his gorgeous and hypocritical exterior, Diodora revealed his ugly and ferocious nature. Just as he was about to reach Isha, a gorgeous flash suddenly entered his eyes and stopped behind Isha, blocking Diodora's wolf paw. How dare you touch my people? You have some guts. Raising his bright golden foot, Dustless aimed at Diodora's face and kicked out mercilessly. Lightspeed kick. The straight beam of destruction mercilessly blasted into Diodora's head. So strong. Theodora's pupils suddenly shrank, but a smile of having succeeded in her scheme flashed in her heart. He then cast a defensive magic array on himself to block the kick. Ka. Even so, after a few seconds of stalemate, the dazzling magic circle was finally extinguished, torn apart by the powerful force of the lightspeed kick. Boom boom boom. In the end, tragedy still befell Theodora. The dazzling light engulfed her and sent her flying. However, as the magic array had blocked most of the impact just now, the force that hit Diodora's body was only 20% or 20% of its original power. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Bang bang bang. Theodora was sent flying backward like a cannonball. She flew back 100 meters and headed straight for the entrance of the villa. Ha ha ha, Theodora, who was sent flying, suddenly let out a hoarse laugh, which was puzzling. Could it be that this despicable fellow did this on purpose? His goal is to cause a conflict between Dustless and the Demon King. Does this B** know the consequences of doing this? Riaz was furious. She vaguely understood what Theodora was planning. Looking over, in the direction where Theodora was sent flying, a few high-ranking figures were walking over with smiles. This kid. I couldn't tell. He's very sinister. I was actually tricked by him. He's quite smart. Dustless smiled indifferently. He was not afraid even if he had to fight with the Demon King. Boom boom boom. The wall at the entrance of the villa was smashed by Diodora. The entire villa trembled, and a large amount of dust fell off. Diodora was stuck in the wall, half dead. She only had a weak breath left to breathe. Unfortunately, the few people standing beside Theodora were Sazax and the other Demon Kings. Seeing such a scene, everyone held their breath. This was a banquet hosted by the Demon King. Anyone who dared to cause trouble in public must have 8 heads. Especially when the person being beaten was a relative of the Demon King, and the Demon King was present. This person who dared to hit someone must be tired of living. Who did this? How dare they? The scene was oppressive for a few seconds. Then, the powerful roar of the explosion brushed past everyone's ears. Everyone took a few steps back in fear, for fear of being caught in the crossfire. At the same time, they looked at Dustless at the same time. Without a doubt, the culprit was him. How dare you cause trouble at such an important banquet? The person who shouted seemed to be a guard of the Demon Kings. The way he bared his teeth gave people the feeling that he was a dog threatening to bully others. This is bad. Riaz frowned. Her hair was already dripping with sweat. She secretly clenched her fists and thought of a solution. There's no need to worry. Dustless strolled over, looking very relaxed. Idiot, do you know how big of a mess you've made? Riaz's tone was rarely stern. She gave Dustless a look and said, do you see that green-haired man? He's a Chukka Astaroth, one of the 4 Demon Kings who is now Beelzebub. The Theodora you sent flying also has the surname Astaroth. I see. That means that Kid and the current Demon King Achukka Astaroth are from the same family, Wuching said in realization. Riaz nodded heavily. Just the thought of beating up a Demon King's family member in front of the Demon King sent chills down her spine. Gulp. Everyone was choking, and the scene was silent. Perhaps some terrifying major event was about to happen. Chapter 1383. How dare he? How dare he? How dare he? That was the only thing left in Diodora's mind. She originally thought that Dustless would lower his head and admit his guilt, but now it seemed like it was just his wishful thinking. Not only would this guy not admit his guilt, but he would also provoke the Demon King regardless of the consequences. Are you saying that I'm sick? Blue veins suddenly appeared on his forehead as Demon King Ashoka Astaroth flew into a rage. He originally wanted to make a big issue into a small one, but this guy didn't give him any face at all and insisted on making a big issue out of a small issue. You didn't hear wrong. Dustless replied with a smile. He said in a very serious tone. Boom boom boom. However, the moment Dustless finished speaking, a soaring aura suddenly erupted like a hurricane sweeping across the entire venue. The young demons with strength and status were all pressed to the ground. They were all sweating profusely and didn't even realize that their clothes were wet. They were cursing Dustless in their hearts. Even if you want to die, don't drag us down with you. Ashoka, calm down. He's still young and doesn't know the rules. It wasn't just the younger generation of demons. Even Sakraz and the others standing beside Ashoka didn't expect him to suddenly attack and were forced to retreat by his violent aura. You think you can do whatever you want after killing Loki? Ashoka locked his gaze on Dustless and didn't hide his killing intent at all. Hearing that, Dustless sneered and retorted disapprovingly, you think you can do whatever you want just because you're the Demon King? I'm sorry to tell you that your laughable identity doesn't have the slightest deterrence in front of me. Good, good, good. He clenched his teeth and said, good, 3 times. It was enough to show how angry Ashoka was. If you want to fight, just come at me. Dustless said casually as he hooked his finger. The people in the venue only felt a small part of the aura. Most of Ashoka's aura deterrence landed on Dustless. However, what was frightening was that this guy was completely fine. He completely turned a deaf ear to the Demon King's aura as if it didn't exist. Hurry up and kill him. Diodora was extremely excited. She was waiting for Dustless to be beaten up miserably. Otherwise, his hatred of being disfigured by Dustless's kick would be too unjust. This guy, although Ashoka had unleashed all of his aura, he did not dare to make a move. Everyone frowned. Lord Sazax, should we assist Lord Ashoka in capturing Dustless? Even though it was just as Dustless had said, he was a human and had no right to abide by the rules of the demon world. After all, he was not a demon, but everyone understood the principle of, when in Rome do as the Romans do. Moreover, Dustless had offended one of the 4 giants of the demon world. Let's wait and see for now. This is really interesting. Sazax waved his hand, a surprised smile on his face. He lowered his head and chose not to help either side. Interesting? Gilifia was speechless. If there was a civil war in the demon world, the impact would be no less than the sky being pierced. When that happened, the 3 major forces and some people from the disaster group might take advantage of the situation and rise up. The tragic war of the past few hundred years might start again, and the negative impact would be incomparably fatal. Sazax smiled faintly and glanced at the gloomy demon King Ashoka. He then whispered to Gilifia, can't you see? It's not that Ashoka doesn't want to make a move, but his opponent is too terrifying. Ashoka is afraid to act, so he doesn't dare to make a move. Gilifia could not help but look at Dustless. She saw that he was calm and unaffected by the Demon King's aura. The entire ground was crushed by Ashoka's aura, and only the area where Dustless was standing was unaffected. In fact, this explained everything. In fact, this sudden duel had started from the moment Ashoka released his aura. It was just that Ashoka, who did not receive the results of the battle, was a little afraid of Dustless. On the contrary, Dustless had not counterattacked until now. Interesting. The fallen angel Athaziel, the archangel Michael, and the main god Odin were all very interested. They had different attitudes towards the grudge between Dustless and Ashoka. In their eyes, the one who provoked Ashoka was Diodora. Not to mention disfigurement, even if Ashoka killed him, he deserved it. Provoking the strong had to pay the price. Without enough strength, angering a creature of a higher dimension, what was this if not an idiot? Even if he was killed, he had only himself to blame. If you don't make a move, I will. With a sneer, Dustless made the first move. His body whistled out, his hand clenched into a fist, and his skin instantly became dark and filled with an invincible sharpness. Armament hockey hardening. Humph, I'm the Demon King, do you think I'm afraid of you? Ashoka snorted, feeling that he was being underestimated. Dustless chose to fight him hand to hand. Wasn't this underestimating him? No, this was simply looking down on him. Angered, Demon King Ashoka also clenched his hand into a fist and smashed towards Dustless. Bang bang bang. The dull impact swept out, and the eruption of the blast directly destroyed the villa. Everyone thought that Dustless would be killed. After all, the opponent was a Demon King. But the result was the opposite. The black shadow that was thrown out was Demon King Ashoka. Caw caw caw. The crisp sound was creepy, and Ashoka's face was pale. The powerful force destroyed the bones in his arm, and the power of both sides was almost one-sided. Chapter 1384. Caw caw caw. Demon King Ashoka Astaroth was so angry that his bones were cracking. He did not expect his friends who called him brothers to be silent at this moment. What did this mean? It meant that Sazax and the others had tacitly agreed that Dustless had taken his position as the Demon King. Ah. Don't stare at the three of us so fiercely. To put it bluntly, this is a matter between you demons and has nothing to do with the fallen angels. Demon King Achuka, I will not participate in your struggle. By the way, I would like to express my personal opinion. Survival of the fittest, this is the law that has not changed since ancient times. Asashel shrugged. On the surface, he seemed to be ignoring himself, but in reality, he was quietly expressing his position. The hidden meaning was that whoever was stronger would be more suitable to be the Demon King. This has nothing to do with us angels. The internal problems of the demons should be solved by our own people. If other forces participate, it will be used against us. Archangel Michael also decisively distanced himself from this. Young people nowadays are really competitive. But Asashel and Michael are right. This is indeed not a problem that we can interfere with. Stroking his beard, Odin had a strange look on his face, indicating that he would not interfere. You guys, at this point, Demon King Achuka knew that he had been abandoned. They all thought that Dustless had a better future than him, so he was abandoned. If it had been an ordinary person, he would have been suppressed by the gods and demon kings. Dustless was special. This was the benefit of being strong, being able to influence the will of others. Even Achuka and Sazax were silent, not to mention fence-sitters like Asashel and the others. Their eyes were changing back and forth as if they were plotting something. This made Demon King Achuka feel a sense of betrayal and anger. You fence-sitters think that this guy is stronger than me? He is more suitable to be the Demon King than me? Demon King Achuka, who had nowhere to vent his anger, roared angrily. His face was red and his ferocious appearance was as if he was possessed by an evil spirit. You are mistaken. This is not a matter of suitability. Every world is a place where the strong preys on the weak. It is only a matter of time before those who are not strong enough are eliminated. Dustless was not surprised by the reaction of Sazax and the others. He had even guessed it. The demons were ruled by the 4 great demon kings, and the strongest of the 4 was probably Sazax. Now, under the threat of calamity, and an alliance with the fallen angels, and the Norse mythological system, such an unprecedented superpower would definitely be able to ignore all enemies. But when the leader of the disaster cluster, the infinite dragon god Orpheus, surfaced, it meant danger. There was no one who could match him at all. Only the Great Red could be on par with Orpheus. But would the Great Red help them? Obviously not. Therefore, they needed a powerful person to appear, and Dustless was the best choice. Whether it was when he killed Loki, or when he killed Fenrir, or now when he was facing Demon King Achuka, he had shown unparalleled strength. Although Sazax and Demon King Achuka were close friends, for the safety of the underworld, between his close friends and the survival of the entire underworld, he decisively chose the latter. Therefore, the scale of victory was tilted toward Dustless. It seems that this guy will naturally take the position of Demon King. Seraph glanced at the few of them and sighed in her heart. She was afraid that as long as he defeated the current Demon King, Achuka Osteroth, Dustless would rise to the top and replace him. This matter did not originate from Achuka. The initiator was his stupid, self-righteous junior, Theodora. The strength you have shown now is not enough to defeat me. I am not Loki, and I will not repeat the same mistake. Demon King Achuka silently guarded everything and chose to swallow it in his stomach. So what if he was unhappy? Was it possible to start a war with the other 3 demon kings, as well as Archangel Michael, Asashel, and Odin? Of course, that was impossible. He would die faster if he did. Stupid thing, you've already been surrounded. Dustless said inexplicably as the Rinnegan in his left eye rippled faintly. Looking at the entire sky, there were only Dustless and the others. There were no other reinforcements. Ha ha ha. I am surrounded. Compared to the Demon King, I think you are more suitable to be a fantasist. How about this? Bang bang bang. Before Achuka's voice fell, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face suddenly became extremely pale, and his body was smashed from the sky to the ground. Boom boom boom. He lay miserably in the deep pit, with an obvious fist mark on his abdomen. The lower limit of Achuka's chest was hit. How did he do it? Did any of you see him do it? Asashel exclaimed in disbelief. Dustless didn't move at all. Sorry, I didn't either. Sazax and the others shook their heads, with a hint of melancholy on their faces. They, the so-called demon kings and gods, couldn't even see when Dustless made his move. They were too incompetent. It's over when I say it's over. Dustless's feet landed on the ground. His shadows had surrounded Achuka and could kill him with one order. This technique was one of Dustless's signature ninjutsu, Tomb of Reincarnation, Border Prison. Only those who had the 6 paths senjutsu, or those who had the same eyes as Dustless, could see the existence of shadows. There was no doubt that this world was equivalent to an invincible existence. No one could see the shadows clearly. The shadows produced by Tomb of Reincarnation, Border Prison, could only be beaten. Chapter 1385. No sense of responsibility? Perhaps, but becoming a demon king by accident was just an accident in the first place. He was unfamiliar with the demon king class, and at the same time, he wasn't interested in it. The hard work of being a demon king should be left to Sazax. Go and call Gulifia over. I have something for her. Dustless suddenly said in a deep voice. You really know how to order people around. Black Song of Deshang pursed her lips. Although she was dissatisfied, she did not refuse. Dustless was indeed her boss, and she would definitely obey Dustless's orders. Tap, 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 after jogging for a while, Black Song of Deshang disappeared. Buzz, 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 at the same time, as soon as Black Song of Deshang left, the space around them rippled like water. Peeping again? The corner of Dustless's mouth twitched. He thought of a certain loli with unique interests and said with a gloomy expression, Infinite Dragon God Orpheus. Peeping is not something a dragon god should do. She had peeped on him when he was having sex in the past. Now, he could not ignore her. You can actually find me? But it's normal if it's you. A crisp and sweet voice entered his ears. Then, a crack appeared in the void, and a girl in a gothic loli costume stepped out from it. Her dark eyes were shining brightly like black agates. She stared at the naked Wuchen indifferently, and her expression didn't regard him as an outsider. Dustless was speechless. You perverted dragon, at least be a little shy. Don't act so matter-of-factly. What's the matter? Dustless frowned. He did not have any deep grudges with Orpheus. Especially after taming the Great Red, Orpheus favored him more. Nothing. There was no bullying in her calm tone. Orpheus always had this kind of calm tone, as if nothing had anything to do with her. Then why are you looking for me, especially in this kind of situation? Dustless said gloomily. He then began to put on his clothes. You're leaving? Orpheus asked. There was a rare ripple in his calm tone. I believe that you and the Great Red should understand that this world is not my beginning, and it is definitely not my end. Leaving is inevitable. Dustless put on his clothes and answered frankly. Orpheus remained silent. She knew that other than this world, there were many other worlds. Dustless was not a character from this world, because there was no such person in the various mythological systems. Otherwise, she and the Great Red would not have been reduced to legends and invincible. Why? Do you want to go to other worlds with me? You can go if you want. Dustless smiled. He had a good impression of this young female dragon. Although she was the boss of Calamity Orpheus, she was still a naive girl who was being used. Orpheus, who did not know anything about the world, did not understand anything. Really? Are you sure? The infinite dragon god Orpheus gently pursed his thin lips, and a bright light flashed across his bright eyes. He forced a smile on his face, as if he had finally heard the answer that he had been waiting for a long time. Of course. Dustless answered cheerfully. After all, there was no problem bringing Orpheus along. He would even have a free fighter. You must not lie to me. The infinite dragon god Orpheus warned as he waved his fist. That threatening fist seemed to be saying, if you dare to lie to me, I will definitely beat you to death. In reality, after the Great Red left, Orpheus was the only one left in this world. He was indeed very lonely. Being alone in the dimensional crevice where all life was forbidden, he would definitely die alone. Lord Dustless. At the same time, Gilifia also hurried over. She was stunned when she saw the infinite dragon god Orpheus, and her killing intent immediately turned cold. She was familiar with this Gilifia. Stop, he's one of us, Dustless said solemnly when he sensed Gilifia's mana seeping out of her body. One of us? She's the leader of the Calamity Orpheus, the infinite dragon god. She's also one of us? Gilifia retorted. The one in front of her was a demon, no, a great enemy of the entire world. I'm his bodyguard, not his enemy, Orpheus pointed at Dustless as she patted her lackluster cleavage and said seriously. Bodyguard? Dustless was speechless. He didn't think anyone could protect him, but he waved his hand and smiled. Gilifia, go and tell Sazax that the old demon king, boom boom boom. Before Wu Chen's voice fell, a violent tremor came from afar. Due to the strong force, the entire villa fell apart in an instant, waking up the few women who were sleeping soundly. Oh. Looks like I'm one step too late. They've already started the attack. Dustless stretched his back. He was sure that the old Demon King's people had ambushed this ongoing ranking game. That's fine. I'll get rid of all of you and then hand this broken world to Sazax. Through the window, he looked into the void in the distance. He could clearly see the hordes of black figures there. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count how many invaders there were. But in Dustless's eyes, no matter how many there were, it wouldn't change anything. This was destined to be a bloody massacre. The strength of the two sides was not equal at all. The White Dragon Emperor Wally is here too. If you're willing to keep a low profile and hide, I can spare your life. But you don't seem to understand the kindness of others. The silver figure roaming the horizon was arrogant and domineering. Like a god who ruled the heavens, he looked down at the chaotic underworld, his eyes sweeping around as if he was looking for Dustless. He was so arrogant that he didn't even care about the Demon Kings, as if they were insignificant characters not worth mentioning. Chapter 1386. The speed of light was simply too fast. Even a god would find it difficult to capture its trajectory, let alone the current White Dragon Emperor Wally. It might even be impossible. Therefore, it was inevitable that Wally, who could not keep up with Dustless's speed, could only take a beating. Lightspeed kick. Mercilessly, it all blasted into White Dragon Emperor Wally's face. The armor covering his face made a crisp ka sound, and then it burst open. All the bright beams of light blasted into his face. Boom boom boom. White Dragon Emperor Wally was mercilessly kicked down, and the ground was smashed into a shocking deep pit. His face was covered in blood and scorched marks as he lay in the pit. A single kick had left him half dead. Well, not bad, the hardness of the armor seems to have become stronger. No wonder you dare to invade the underworld and challenge me so arrogantly. But I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you before. The last time I fought you, it was not my full strength at all. Dustless, who was floating in the sky, said to himself. You bastard. White Dragon Emperor Wally stubbornly stood up and spat out a mouthful of blood. A few white teeth could be clearly seen. His face was sunken in, his nose was crooked, and there was a faintly discernible footprint on his face. Got it. There was a violent roar from the sky, and then the void above Dustless's head suddenly turned dark. It's you again. Looking up at the falling giant iron rod, Dustless frowned. Combined with the slightly familiar voice and the unique wishful steel rod, there seemed to be no other attacker except for the person who claimed to be the beautiful monkey. I didn't kill you last time because you had the value of a message. As for this time, please disappear. It's annoying to see an eyesore like you wandering around. High-density spiritual pressure erupted in his body, and the earth was under Dustless's control and began to tremble violently. A fiery red blade-shaped flame was clearly visible, and the remaining moisture in the air quickly evaporated as if it was the end of the world. Path of destruction, one blade cremation. The flame blade rose from the ground, and the invincible power directly swallowed Silver and the entire staff. So Beautiful Monkey disappeared together with his beloved weapon. Boom, boom, boom. The earth-shattering explosion swept through the sky, and the strong impact caused everyone to retreat again and again. The remnants of the monkey and the wishful staff were not left behind. Beautiful Monkey is dead? White Dragon Emperor Wally said in a daze. His eyes were wide open, and he found it hard to accept this situation. It was just one move, how could it be so simple? It's not like he's a nobody. I've already said that the reason he was still alive the last time was because he was useful as a messenger. Now that he's useless and dares to provoke me, he'll definitely die. Dustless said in a matter-of-fact tone. Then, he looked at the White Dragon Emperor and said, "Don't worry, don't be sad. You have no more value. You will soon go to the underworld to continue your previous fate. There's no need to thank me. I'm just that kind of person." Dustless gathered a large amount of light in his hand. He coldly glanced at it and thousands of light bullets rained down. Yasakani no Magatama. Rays of light poured down like locusts, and Wally struggled to stand up. His eyes were filled with determination as he chanted an obscure and ancient incantation. It sounded quite extraordinary and solemn. I awaken. Bring the absolute law to the White Dragon Emperor of Darkness, run through the dream of dawn with infinite destruction, go to the tyrannical path, become the Emperor of the pure dragon, lead thou to the silver fantasy and the pinnacle of the demonic path. As soon as his voice fell, Wally's body emitted a bright light. His small body was enlarged without limit, and he became an unprecedented behemoth. Moreover, the magical fluctuation was unbelievably strong. Dustless was caught off guard and was sent flying. No wonder this guy is so confident. It turns out that he has entered this mode. It's worthy of praise. Dustless nodded slightly and gave a rare look of admiration. Wally soared in the sky, and the void was completely occupied by his huge body. What mode is this? Bursts of dragon roars that belonged to the ancient era resounded through the world. Looking up at the behemoth that occupied the void, everyone felt that they were extremely small and fragile like an hourglass. Wally didn't need to crush them. Just by slightly flapping his wings on both sides, he could easily destroy them. What a big lizard. In this mighty and solemn environment, extremely discordant ridicule came. White Dragon Emperor Wally's huge dragon eyes surged with gloomy murderous intent. He had paid a lot to enter this unique and powerful mode. And the initiator was this lawless and mischievous person in front of him. Does this guy look down on others? White Dragon Emperor Wally's huge dragon eyes looked down at Dustless, and his eyes flashed with dissatisfaction. Dustless's sloppy face obviously didn't take him seriously when he entered this new mode. He completely regarded him as a joke. The me in this state is completely different from the mode just now. You'd better be serious. Otherwise, I'll kill you in an instant. If that's the case, it'll be too boring. The humiliation you've brought me, I'll pay you back double. No. You've misunderstood. The one who should be worried is you, Wally. Shaking his finger, Dustless chuckled and immediately pointed to the depths of the void. The lazy white clouds seemed to have touched the heaven and earth, and instantly disappeared without a trace. The cloudless sky was incomparably dark in the blink of an eye, as if it had encountered a catastrophe. The whole world became oppressive dark. Chapter 1387. In the depths of the void, there were more than tens of millions of bright god gates that were falling ruthlessly. In addition, Wally was in the silver extreme Tyrannosaurus mode at this moment. His body was already huge, so he suddenly became the best target to attract firepower. Boom boom boom. Wally was not a pushover. He, who had experienced hundreds of battles, also noticed the bright god gates that were falling from the void. He controlled his huge body to avoid the bombardment of the bright god gates. However, the idea was good, but the reality was cruel. Dustless just sneered and made another hand gesture. Wally's body was like a magnetic field. Wherever he flew, the bright god gates would follow. Caw caw caw. Unable to evade, she was finally struck by the bright deity gate. The powerful force forced her to fall to the ground. The gorgeous silver armor on her body was covered in filth, and there were even some parts that were smashed into pieces. These damn things are so powerful. Wally's eyes narrowed. His expression was slightly gloomy as he stared at Dustless. He tried to stand up, but he was shocked to find that the magic power in his body was quickly dissipating. These redwood can absorb my magic power? Finally, Wally could no longer keep calm. His tone was raised by several notches. His body seemed to be full of countless holes. His magic power leaked out crazily, and more than half of it was absorbed in a dozen seconds. What would happen if a few minutes passed? He might even be squeezed into a dried husk. Ao. Wally resisted with all his strength, and his body exploded with superdimensional power. He came here today to find Dustless to completely end his relationship with him, not to stay here and make a fool of himself. Especially the audience who wanted to see him make a fool of himself was the person Wally hated the most, Dustless. Buzz buzz buzz. Wally's huge body rippled, and the surrounding space was distorted. Everything that came into contact with the ripples on Wally's body shrunk incredibly. White Dragon Emperor's domain. Wally raised his head and roared. The bright god gates that were binding his body also shrunk. The most important thing was that the force that suppressed Wally was getting smaller and smaller. The pressure on Wally was much less. Boom boom boom. The mighty and extraordinary dragon body burst out with unimaginable power. Wally finally tore apart the suppression of the bright god gate, and turned into a devastating and dazzling fluorescent light that swept into the sky. There's still some time before the moon falls. I should use this time to destroy the evil Dustless. That way, the meteorite might stop falling and the world will return to normal. Humph, compared to the Dustless, the horror in Calamity Orb is too kind. White Dragon Emperor Wally said. No matter how crazy the people from the disaster group were, they wouldn't go to the extent of digging their own graves. However, Dustless, who prided himself on being righteous, did just that. Today, I will rid the world of evil and kill you, the most evil person in the world. Entering the silver Tyrannosaurus mode, Wally's limbs were almost identical to a dragon's. He stretched out his sharp claws and shrouded Dustless. White Dragon Emperor's domain. A wave of energy rippled, and the void within Varley's body that had stopped previously began to distort again. This special domain gradually expanded, 1 meter, 10 meters, 100 meters, 1,000 meters. The energy ripples endlessly spread, and Varley wanted to completely distort this dimension. Didn't I just slap his face a few times, trick Black Goo over, and kill Beautiful Monkey? That's all. I don't seem to have done anything outrageous. Dustless said helplessly, expressing his innocence. Leave it to me. I'm your bodyguard now. The infinite dragon god Orpheus took a step forward. Her cute little face was filled with calmness. She was directly affected by Wally's, White Dragon Emperor's domain, but her body was not affected at all. It was enough to prove the power of the infinite dragon god Orpheus. Even the White Dragon Emperor Rubian in his prime was no match for the infinite dragon god Orpheus. Sorry, I never like to let others deal with my enemies. Let me think about how to deal with him. Dustless's head turned. His left eye was the reincarnation Sharingan, and his right eye was the legendary Tensigan. The two completely different eyes looked particularly evil. Paw. After a moment of silence, Dustless snapped his fingers, and the corner of his mouth curled into a wicked smile. What is the most profound state of torturing a person? It's not to kill him directly. That's not interesting at all. The right choice is to make him suffer a fate worse than death. Then first, taking a deep breath, Dustless took out an ordinary-looking sphere from his hand. It didn't look powerful, but it shot out a high-density gravitational force that was enough to destroy the world. Dustless's expression turned cold, and he shouted, "Chibaku Tensei." Ka ka ka. Just like the prelude to the Sun Destroyer, the moment the words, "Chibaku Tensei," fell, boundless gravitational force shot down from the black sphere, changing the geological plates of the entire world. The earth was torn apart, the mountains were flattened, the sea was collapsing, and the playthings were wailing. It was as if the end of the world had really arrived. The laws of all things were all ineffective at this moment. The huge mountain floated upward, and everything was affected. "What's going on?" Wally exclaimed. His old face finally couldn't maintain his calm and confidence. The moment the gravitational force flashed, his White Dragon Emperor's domain was also affected and was easily torn apart. It was as simple as tearing a piece of paper. Not only that, his huge body also floated upward uncontrollably, and he was about to be sealed by the sphere. Chapter 1388. Gulu Gulu. Staring at the beautiful monkey who was slowly approaching him, Varley's old face changed color. He looked at Dustless with gloomy eyes and growled, "As a powerhouse, you should." Dustless interrupted Varley and asked with a smile, "Are you talking about the bearing of a powerhouse? How much is that kind of groundless bearing worth?" Boom boom boom. When Varley heard this sentence, his mind immediately became a mess. He felt as if he was struck by lightning. The impact of these words was even more serious than the series of violent beatings just now. Dustless's words implied that he would use all kinds of perverted means to deal with him. "I can dominate everything in this independent space, so let him be eunuch 10,000 times. Beautiful monkey, the glorious task of being castrated by your former subordinate, TSK, that must feel great," Dustless said with a cheeky smile. "You. Poochie." There was a bloodstain on the ground. Varley was so angry that he bled. He gritted his teeth and stared at Dustless in shock. He didn't expect this guy to come up with such a shameless idea. What's wrong with being eunuch 10,000 times? Glancing at the big scissors in the beautiful monkey's hand, Varley cursed in his heart. This was 10 times more serious than killing him. "Bastard, kill me if you have the guts." Varley's eyes bulged out as if they were about to pop out. "Aw, so scary. Beautiful monkey, hurry up and do it." Dustless pretended to be afraid and took a few steps back. He immediately waved his hand and ordered the beautiful monkey to execute Varley immediately. The beautiful monkey nodded and pounced on Varley with the big scissors. Even if he was eunuch 10,000 times, he could still grow it back after every time. After all, this was Dustless's space. In Tsukimi's space, the life and death were all under Dustless's control. "Ah, damn monkey, stop it." The miserable scream reached the sky, making people feel cold all over. Varley's miserable scream contained endless pain. That hysterical wail seemed to be regretting living in this world. Dustless had already disappeared from Tsukimi's space. Ka ka ka. The void outside was filled with wails. The fall of the moon had destroyed everyone's fighting spirit. In front of a planet, what could these small fries do? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the distant horizon, several sharp sounds of something breaking through the air could be heard. Looking up, a few weak black spots were rushing over at an incredible speed. Demon King, Leviathan, Seraphil? That guy seems to be another Demon King. Hearing this, Dustless's observation hockey swept across the world. He was surprised to find that Sazax had disappeared and he couldn't feel his magic fluctuations. He couldn't have really been killed, right? Recalling Wally's arrogant declaration, Dustless had a bad premonition. There was no doubt about Sazax's strength. He was 10 times stronger than the old Demon King. Dustless really did not believe that he would be killed by the people the old Demon King was filming. But now, his magic fluctuations had disappeared. So be it. This kind of thing doesn't matter anyway. Dustless shrugged, revealing a helpless expression. At worst, he could just use outer path, reincarnation, to resurrect. With Dustless's reincarnation Sharingan's pupil power, this wasn't difficult to do. Shoo shoo shoo. At the same time, Demon King Asmodeus and Demon King Leviathan both landed on both sides of Dustless. Their expressions were slightly embarrassed, especially Seraphal's right shirt, which was faintly bursting. You two ran very fast. Are you really the current Demon King? How disappointing. An evil and arrogant voice came. At some point in time, several figures were standing in front of Dustless and the others. You are, his pupils shrank. Dustless was surprised to find that he had some impression of this person. His expression was arrogant and his eyes were overbearing. People who were swept by him would shrink their necks as if they would lose their lives in the next second. This guy is a bit similar to Wally, Dustless said in surprise. He estimated that this person was related to Wally Lucifer. His name is Lezoim Levi Lucifer. He is the grandfather of White Dragon Emperor Wally and also the old enemy of Sazax. Sazax was killed by him just now, Seraphil explained, her beautiful eyes dignified. At the same time, several powerhouses appeared beside Lezoim Levi Lucifer, and the Demon Kings of the old Demon Kings faction were also among them. Ah! Is this the general mobilization of the villains? I have already advised Sazax to kill you, but he was moved by compassion. TSK. If he knew that you are now a traitor, he would not rest in peace. Dustless asked teasingly. The person standing on the left of Lezoim Levi Lucifer was the Demon King Achuka that he had beaten up a while ago. But then again, are you sure that Sazax was really killed? Dustless asked suspiciously. He felt that it was ridiculous. How could a Supreme Demon King be killed so easily? I also heard this from Asmodeus. I don't know the specific situation at the time. Seraphil shook her head. Although she had a bad relationship with Dustless, they were already at the end of life and death. Hearing this, Dustless looked at the big guy who had been silent since just now. He felt that there was something wrong with this guy. With Sazax's strength, the probability of him being killed is 0. Even if he was surrounded by several powerhouses of the same level, he should be able to hold on for a while. Could it be, his pupils shrank? Dustless suddenly thought of a terrifying possibility. Pfft! It was also at this moment that a hole the size of a human head was made in Dustless's abdomen. Chapter 1389. Zenka no Tachi emitted a terrifying energy fluctuation. Any living creature could feel the aura of death. The blood in their body quickly evaporated, as if they would dry up at any time. Everyone, including Lezoim Levi Lucifer, felt uncomfortable. You want to kill my underling? Do you have any respect for me? Lezoim Levi Lucifer sneered and took the initiative to stand up. At the same time, he waved his hand and ordered all his subordinates to retreat. It seemed that he wanted to fight Dustless one-on-one. He had a confident smile on his face. No matter what kind of artifact you are just asking for humiliation in front of me. Lezoim Levi Lucifer said arrogantly. However, Dustless ignored him and kept staring at Asmodeus. Go to hell. His pupils turned. Dustless aimed at the residue at his feet and activated the eye power of Rinnegan. Heavenly hand power. After saying that, Dustless performed a shocking scene in front of everyone. His body quietly left. Even the trajectory of his movement could not be captured. Where is he? Where did he run to? That kid can't be scared, right? Who knows? But even if he ran, it's useless. Soon, we will gradually occupy the main world. That kid is just a stray dog. There is no need to bother with him. Let's discuss how to split the profits after we occupy the world in the future. These people completely ignored Dustless's existence. He was just a small character. If he ran away, then so be it. Damn coward. He didn't really run away, did he? Seeing this, Seraph's expression turned ugly. Although she was a demon king, there were several people on the opposite side who were at the same level as her. If Dustless patted his butt and left, she would only have a dead end. Seraphil expressed that she had not lived long enough and did not want to die. Phew, he finally left. The demon king who held the position of Asmodeus rejoiced. His tense heart also calmed down, expressing that he was under great pressure facing Dustless. However, just as he finished speaking, Dustless appeared and slapped his face. "Yo, what are you rejoicing about?" A demonic voice suddenly came from behind. Not only Asmodeus sucked in a breath of cold air, everyone else shivered. This guy was as silent as a ghost. "Die." With that, Zenka no Tachi slashed at Asmodeus, its sharp edge piercing through his body. Boom boom boom. A violent explosion suddenly occurred between heaven and earth. Zenka no Tachi spewed out a large amount of high-density flames, and Asmodeus disappeared without a trace in a flash. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. It had been directly crushed by the explosive flames of remnant fire Tachi. Everything ended when it was swung. This was the most realistic portrayal of remnant fire Tachi. How is this possible? He instantly killed a Demon King player? Everyone rubbed their eyes, and after confirming that they weren't dizzy from old age, they were petrified. This wasn't the lowest level of trash demon, but a Demon King in name and in reality. Moreover, he belonged to the category of transcendence. The current Demon Kings were all stronger than the previous Demon Kings, but Dustless's simple appearance really refreshed their seriousness. It was as if he was cutting cabbage. Oh, no, even if he was cutting cabbage, there would still be movement. At the very least, you could hear the sound of "Kacha." But when Dustless swung his blade to cut the head of Asmodeus, there wasn't even a sound, directly killing him. Gulp. Everyone retreated one after another, taking the initiative to pull away from Dustless. This guy was really too frightening. His strength was at the limit of being able to shatter mountains with a flick of his finger. A bunch of useless trash. Seeing this, Lezavim Levy and Lucifer's old face twitched. Although he was also shocked by Dustless's means and was even more afraid of him than Sarzax Jimenez, Lezavim Levy and Lucifer also knew that he couldn't back down. If he, as the leader of the Calamity Squad, was afraid of Dustless, what could he expect from this group of shrimp soldiers and crab generals? Don't be afraid. We have more people. Beat him up like how we killed Sarzax just now. The helpless Lezavim Levy and Lucifer could only boost the morale. His tone was extremely bewitching as he shouted loudly, "Don't forget that we have the absolute advantage." Absolute advantage? Hearing this, Dustless smiled as if he was looking at an idiot. He pointed at White Dragon Emperor Wally, who was rolling on the ground. His whole body was twitching, and his painful expression made it seem as if he was neither alive nor dead. "Useless trash, should have killed you back then. Letting you live now is simply my biggest mistake and failure." Lezavim Levy and Lucifer only felt that his lungs were about to explode from anger. While he was painstakingly trying to fool everyone, his grandson was wailing over there and tearing down his stage. "And do you really think that you have the advantage in numbers?" Dustless's words attracted everyone's attention. They saw that he was holding Remnant Flame Tachi, which was out of the ordinary. He was not in a hurry to attack, nor was he in a hurry to launch a sneak attack. Instead, he only stabbed Remnant Flame Tachi into the ground. Kacha! Instantly, the ground cracked open easily, and a huge hole appeared. The sharpness that could cut through iron like mud shocked everyone. What is he trying to do? Lezavim Levy and Lucifer's expression was so gloomy that it could drip water. He thought that with Sarzax dead, all the problems would be solved, and the leadership of the demons would be at his fingertips. Even the entire world would be under his control. Who would have thought that after he sent Sarzax away, an even more difficult cold-faced Yama would come and kill one of his generals in the blink of an eye? What an unlucky year. The corner of Lezavim Levy and Lucifer's mouth twitched. Chapter 1390. The group of villains shuddered as they looked at the charred Tachi in Dustless's hand in fear. This weapon was too abnormal. No matter where it hit, as long as it touched it, it would be vaporized. Not even a trace of their existence would be left behind, let alone bones. How did this guy get out of my sealing technique? Demon King Achuka's face darkened. His barrier magic formation was inexplicably torn apart, but none of them saw Dustless make a move. He had only blinked his eyes, and the barrier had shattered. Should we retreat? We're not his match at all. He alone can crush all of us. Chow Chow from the hero's faction is a good example. We're not as good as him. We'll die if we go up. The team of Disaster's camp immediately had doubts and discussed with each other. They didn't care about the livid demon King Achuka or their current boss, Lezoam Levian Lucifer. Which was more important, their lives or their boss? They decisively chose the former. These people were only here to get some benefits. If they could get some benefits, everything would be fine. But if their lives were threatened, especially for a super freak like Dustless, encountering such a strong and boundless enemy, it was better to give up early. 1/1 Demon King. Who wouldn't be afraid? Sure enough, you didn't let me down. Hearing the cowering team of Disaster's underlings, Seraphil's tense nerves finally relaxed. This motley crew was also a force to be reckoned with. But now, their confidence was shattered by Dustless. In fact, it wasn't just the team of Disaster that was afraid. Even Seraphil, who was also a demon king, felt a chill in her soul. Dustless's strength was too terrifying. To put it bluntly, killing a demon king was as easy as killing a chicken or a dog. Want to run? Hearing this, Dustless frowned, and a cold look flashed across his face. Being slapped in the face and remaining silent was not his style. Dustless was the true portrayal of Dustless. You're all going to die. Landing on the ground, Dustless was too lazy to talk nonsense. Even if there were tens of thousands of enemies, it was meaningless to him. Anyway, he didn't need to do it himself. Another ability of Zenka no Tachi could deal with it. Are you an idiot? Let them go. We are outnumbered. Seraph trotted over and tugged at the corner of Dustless's clothes, silently cursing him for being an idiot. Dustless didn't seem to understand this sentence. They outnumber us? We have fewer people and less power? That was just now, but it's different now. Wuchen smiled and patted Seraph's shoulder. The latter's face suddenly blushed like an apple. There were 2 cute crimson balls on her face. She cursed in her heart, this brat still dares to tease me. At the same time, Seraph also widened her eyes and curiously watched Dustless's performance. Crack. Dustless stabbed Zenka no Tachi into the ground, and the ground began to tremble as if it was water. If the number of people can determine victory or defeat, then we will definitely win this time. Dustless smiled with incomparable confidence. Dense ripples appeared on the ground, as if something was about to break out from the ground, causing everyone to feel uneasy. Those who have been killed by me. Now, wake up. Broken bones emerged from the ground, and Dustless finally shouted, Zenka no Tachi, south, fire 10 trillion death burial formation. Awoo. The moment his voice fell, the undead army of hundreds of millions of skeletons rose from the ground, and their deafening roars resounded through the sky. They all raised their weapons and charged toward the Disaster Squad. How is this possible? That guy can control the undead army? And such an exaggerated number. Oh right, I have something to do at home, so I'll leave in advance. My wife is his relative, so I'm retreating too. Damn that guy, is that guy the Grim Reaper? But even Hades doesn't have this ability. Why are you still talking nonsense? Do you want to be beaten to death? Hurry up and run. Hundreds of millions of skeletons chased after the invaders of the Disaster Squad. There were some super strong undead in the army, such as the captains that were killed in the Grim Reaper world. Aizen, Yawach, Jugram, Ulquiorra, and the captains that were killed by Dustless, including the former Knights of the Astral Cross, all turned into an army of skeletons to chase after the disaster squad. Fortunately, I've killed enough people in the past, Dustless said with a myriad of emotions. Most of the skeletons in the army were strong. You can't be the legendary god of Hades who controls death, right? Seraphil smiled bitterly, suddenly feeling that Dustless was too mysterious. Invincible abilities came one after another, especially with his casual appearance. It was very likely that he did not use his full strength. Grim Reaper? Hearing this, Dustless rolled his eyes. The Hades of this world seemed to be a skeleton. Have you seen a handsome Hades like me? That old guy is just a skeleton. You really can't be praised. Seraphil was speechless. She did not expect Dustless to be so narcissistic. Of course, it was undeniable that Dustless had the capital to be narcissistic. After all, his strength was there for all to see. You two are the last enemies. His line of sight fell on Demon King Achuka and Lezavim Levi Lucifer's head. Almost everyone else had collapsed. Only these two held a deep hatred for Dustless and continued to be in a stalemate. As for White Dragon Emperor Wally, he was already unconscious. He was unicated by his subordinates 10,000 times in the Tsukuyami world. He was probably traumatized for the rest of his life. Chapter 1391. The Demon King Achuka trembled all over and grimaced in pain. In order to carry out the plan perfectly, he deliberately suppressed his strength last time and lost, causing him to lose face. This time, he unleashed all his strength to turn the tables, but who would have thought that he would be even weaker than before? Achuka said that he couldn't even capture Dustless's movements. When he realized that Dustless had appeared, his heart had been crushed. How can you be so fast? Where did you come from? I've checked your background, and there's no god called Dustless in the Eastern and Western mythological systems. At this point, the Demon King Achuka also recognized the gap between them. It was just his wishful thinking to avenge his humiliation, and it was impossible to realize. I'm just an ordinary mortal. Retracting his arm, Dustless took the initiative to distance himself from the Demon King Achuka. He was also an ordinary human who had reached where he was today. There was no one who could reach the sky in one step and stand at the top of the pyramid looking down on all living things. However, even if I can't kill you, I must leave my mark on your body, the Demon King Achuka said with a determined expression. At least he had to let Dustless know that he had fought with an enemy called Achuka Astaroth and was injured. You have a lot of unrealistic ideas. Wu Chen had a headache. Sometimes it was really difficult to deal with this kind of lunatic who did things without thinking about the consequences. Even if they were forced into a desperate situation on the verge of death, they would still have the idea of perishing together with the enemy in the end. You want to self-destruct? Looking at Achuka calmly, Dustless said softly, you have a lot of magic power in your body gathered in your abdomen. I'm afraid you want to detonate your entire body and drag me down with you. What a crazy man. That's right. Hearing this, the Demon King Achuka admitted. Since he was already close to death, he might as well use the remaining time to create the most dazzling sparks. His body grew bigger and bigger, like a hydrogen balloon gradually occupying the entire sky. Not to mention attacking, he would explode if someone touched him slightly. Unfortunately, there's no chance. Dustless said softly, and at the same time, his eyes began to change. No chance? Get this straight. As long as you touch my body, even if it's just touching me with your hair, there might be an explosion that can destroy the world. Demon King Achuka said proudly. This was also one of his trump cards, a move that would take his enemy down with him. Farewell. Dustless didn't say anything. His eye power increased without limit, tearing apart the space beside Demon King Achuka. Divine might. Could it be that he wants to? Demon King Achuka's pupils constricted as he stared at the space within Shinwei. His entire body glowed. The chances of him taking revenge on Dustless after being thrown into that space were 0. I need to self-destruct as soon as possible. I already said it's too late. The godly might released a distorted gravitational force, and Demon King Achuka was instantly sucked in. It was too late for him to self-destruct, as the wound that was torn by the godly might had already healed. Bastard! In the cold, dark universe, Demon King Achuka screamed at the top of his lungs. He was frantically looking for a way out, but there was nothing he could do. As far as the universe was concerned, there was no way out. The only thing that awaited Demon King Achuka was death. You're the last enemy, right? He turned into a photon and floated to Seraph's side. He saw that Lezoim Levi Lucifer was fighting with Wally. He even chose to forget about Dustless and Seraph. After killing him, I'll have to leave this world. Dustless stretched his body and counted the only gains in this world. It seemed that there was only the Great Red, the psychic beast, and an additional bodyguard, the infinite dragon god, Orpheus. Boom! 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 The two figures clashed fiercely and fought fervently. They had really forgotten about Dustless and Seraph. I say, if the two of you fight like this, I don't know how many days it will take to determine the winner. Instead of wasting time like this, I have a good idea. Lezoim Levi Lucifer and Wally Lucifer both had extraordinary magic power. They could fight for 5 to 6 days without any problem. However, Dustless didn't have that much time to play with them. What idea do you have? Wally and Lezoim Levi Lucifer asked at the same time. It's very simple. Dustless smiled casually. He secretly had a huge energy fluctuation in his body, preparing a powerful move that could kill with one blow. I mean, don't waste your energy. You two should die together. After that, Dustless appeared beside the two of them at lightning speed, and his shining fist slammed into them. Armament hockey hardening. Lezoim Levi Lucifer was a veteran of many battles. Although Dustless was very fast, he didn't grow up without doing anything. Only White Dragon Emperor Wally was sent flying by Dustless. Poochie. The powerful fist was extraordinary. Wally, who was attacked, his chest instantly caved in, and his whole body was almost penetrated. Chapter 1392. Lezoim Levi Lucifer's eyes almost popped out. He stared at Dustless's fist with dread. It was covered with a shiny edge like steel. He secretly pondered, is this the fist of the giant clan? Go to hell, Wally. A lot of emerald light floated around his body. Dustless said coldly, Tensigan chakra mode. His whole body was suddenly wrapped in emerald mysterious chakra. Dustless's temperament was also different in an instant. His cold and emotionless eyes were like looking at insects. White Dragon Emperor's domain. Wally, who didn't give up, grabbed with his hand. The surrounding void was like the water surface, radiating waves of ripples, and was compressed again. Anyone who touched this power fluctuation was reduced to half of their original size, even the lifeless stones were no exception. Struggling before death, can't you just obediently go to heaven? Dustless shook his head gently and glanced at White Dragon Emperor Wally with pity. Then he clasped his hands, and a burst of chakra attack whistled out. Silver Will Reincarnation Explosion. A long tornado swept out, and the ground was easily penetrated. The violent wind's speed even affected the change of the airflow. The weather was fine, but it inexplicably rained. Poochie. 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 The tornado swallowed Wally in the blink of an eye. He found that his armor was as fragile as paper. It would be torn apart when it touched the wind and waves. The heavy armor on his body was eroded in the blink of an eye. Poochie. The armor was all destroyed, and the one who was ravaged was Wally himself. After a while, a lot of blood seeped into the tornado, and Wally had been ravaged until only a white skeleton stained with blood and minced meat was left. Gulp. Even with Lezoim Levi Lucifer's experience, his eyes flashed with deep fear. This miserable way of dying was too cruel and vicious. Strike first and gain the upper hand. Lezoim Levi Lucifer's magic burst out. In between his movements, the magic light beams all over the sky went forward together with monstrous momentum. asking for humiliation. Seeing this, Dustless was not afraid at all. He immediately took a more exaggerated move than Lezoim Levi Lucifer. "This time, I must beat you until nothing is left," Dustless said coldly. He was already tired of this eyesore, so naturally, he wouldn't show mercy. The majestic natural chakra in his body was released in an instant. Dustless's eyes and eyebrows. A huge outline of a huge outline appeared behind him. Immortal art, Mokutan, true thousand hands. The giant's arms was the sky. Wu Chen, who was standing on top of his head, dragged the giant Buddha statue forward. Every time he moved, there would be a loud rumbling sound coming from the ground. Gulp. In all fairness, Lezoim Levi was really scared out of his wits by this behemoth. That unparalleled figure made even God's impression of the Great Red extremely small. Taking a step back, even if the monster had no attack power and was just an empty shell, it still had an unprecedented attack power. If the Buddha statue fell, it would probably be able to easily destroy a city, not to mention the thousands of fists. How insignificant. Dustless glanced at the incoming light and did not hide his contempt. He shouted, "Buddha transformation on top." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hundreds of punches flew out from the Buddha statue behind him. Their power and strength were unparalleled, and they easily dispersed the incoming magic beams. Bang bang bang. The shadow of the fist covered the sky, and wherever it went, magic beams would collapse and end. The void was like fireworks, with sparks flying in all directions. It was extremely beautiful. Let's retreat. Otherwise, I will die too. This guy is too scary. It's doubtful whether the Great Red will be able to take care of him, Lezoim Levi Lucifer said fearfully. It was not that he was afraid of death, but this kind of meaningless death, dying like cannon fodder, was hard for him to accept. Dying was not a problem, but he had to drag the enemy down with him. At least his death would be more valuable. He couldn't be killed by Dustless for no reason like now. That would be too tragic. Chapter 1393. You want to run? Do you think I don't exist? Dustless sneered again and again. He had been observing the changes in Lezoim Levi and Lucifer's expression. That expression of fear and wanting to escape, he saw it clearly. Go to hell. Sweeping away the remaining magic light in the sky, the giant Buddha statue turned around and charged towards Lezoim Levi's Lucifer. Kakaka. The ground under his feet shook violently. Lezoim Levi's Lucifer couldn't even stand still. His expression was extremely gloomy. Do you really want to kill me? Lezoim Levi's Lucifer asked in a hoarse voice. His fists were clenched so tight that his veins were popping out. Every strong person had their last trump card, but it could only be used in a desperate situation. Every trump card that was used was one less trump card. That was why most of the strong people didn't want to fight to the death. After all, not everyone was like Dustless, who had all kinds of overpowered abilities and powerful moves. Is there any use in saying this now? A few hundred meters in the sky, Dustless stepped on the Buddha statue. His tone was calm and his eyes were emotionless. Anyone could see the faint murderous intent in his eyes. Damn brat. Hearing Dustless's answer, Lezoim Levi's Lucifer roared. His body turned into a purple light and fled. He knew that resisting Dustless would lead to an early death, but he still wanted to die. That was an idiotic behavior. You still want to run at this point? Dustless shook his head. He was about to leave, so he couldn't let go of this big trouble. Suddenly, a few emerald balls floated behind him. They were similar to the truth-seeking jade. All of them gathered in Dustless's palm. In the end, as if they were melted, they were all compressed into Dustless's right hand. A faint golden light could be seen floating. Idiot, you still want to kill me from so far away? Ha ha ha, incurable idiot. Lezoim Levi's Lucifer laughed crazily. His words were filled with endless joy. His ability to escape was used to the extreme. Almost in the blink of an eye, he pulled a distance of tens of kilometers away from Dustless. Run as fast as you can. It's a good opportunity to test the effects of this spell on an enemy from such a long distance. Dustless stood still, and the light gathered in his hand was ready to be released. From his calm expression, it was not difficult to see that he was deliberately letting Lesavim Levy and Lucifer escape, hoping to use him to experiment on a certain spell. If Lesavim Lucifer knew about this, he would probably vomit blood again. The distance is far enough. It's about time to begin. Dustless raised his hand and stared at Lesavim Levi Lucifer, who was gradually disappearing from his eye sockets. He was determined to attack. Golden Will Reincarnation Explosion. The lightsaber extended endlessly. Just like Dustless's chakra, his lightsaber also had no end. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. 1 meter, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, 10,000 meters, 100,000 meters, 1,000,000 meters. The golden lightsaber was invincible. Everything it touched was sharpened by the absolute power. Its momentum was extremely fierce. In the blink of an eye, it was close to Lesavim Levy and Lucifer, who was frantically running away. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air from behind made Lesavim Levy and Lucifer terrified. He subconsciously turned his head, and the incomparably thick golden lightsaber filled his entire pupil. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sharp edge seemed to want to cut him in half. How is this possible? What kind of move is this? Does he want to cut the whole world apart? Lesavim Levy and Lucifer's face was ugly. He had escaped so far, but who would have thought that Dustless would catch up in the blink of an eye? He was regretting his decision. How was this a battle? It was clearly a crushing of strength. I can't die here. I can still make a comeback. Lesavim Levy and Lucifer roared crazily. He gathered high-density magic under his feet and stepped on the void. He covered a distance of more than 1,000 meters. Still want to run? Slightly raising his eyebrows, Dustless scolded him for being ignorant and ridiculous. Chakra rose rapidly like a rocket. In an instant, the golden lightsaber that stretched for millions of meters became faster. In a few breaths, it was already close to Dustless, Lesavim Levy and Lucifer. Poochie. The golden lightsaber swept across his body. There were obvious traces of blood on his abdomen. It hurts. Lesavim Levy and Lucifer gritted his teeth in pain. He subconsciously looked at his body. No, it was not his body anymore. His lower body had been cut off by Dustless. Now, only his upper body was left. TSK TSK. You can still not die like this. The vitality of a demon is really strong. He was still alive even after being cut in half. Even if it was just for a short while, it was enough to prove how strong and terrifying the vitality of a demon was. The only way to kill him instantly was to cut off his head. It's not that the life of a demon is strong. It's just that my strength is stronger than theirs. If it were other demons, even if they were demon kings, they would have been crushed by you in an instant. Staring at Dustless, who was rushing over in the form of a rainbow, Lesavim Levy and Lucifer was calm. Perhaps it was because he was about to die, he was terrifyingly calm. You don't seem to be afraid in the slightest. Your calmness and composure are truly impressive. 7 to 8 meters away from Lesavim Levy and Lucifer, photons flashed and instantly compressed into Dustless's body. A pair of bright eyes looked at him and gave him a look of admiration. Of course, because I still have to drag you down with me, so of course I'm very open-minded. Chapter 1394. It was said that Lesavim Levi Lucifer was unrepentant. Even if he was cut in half and only had half of his body left, he was still so arrogant. Especially with his confident tone, he was almost 100% sure that he could kill Dustless. Just based on your current state? Dustless had a headache. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone so arrogant. He was already cut in half and only had half of his body left. Even in such a state, he still wanted to drag Dustless down with him. That's right. Staring at Dustless fearlessly, Lesavim Levi Lucifer made the final decision and said with hatred, "If you were willing to let me live, I wouldn't have fought with you. But you actually dared to cut me in half and make me lose face." Lesavim Levi Lucifer's eyes were blood red. Dustless's cruel actions made him lose all his prestige. As the leader of the Calamity Squad, how could he convince the others in the future? Cut you in half? Do you think this is the end? The best part is yet to come. Dustless sneered. He had killed countless people and tried all kinds of killing methods. Today, he might as well try them all on Lesavim Levi Lucifer's body. Although he only had half of his body left. Dustless slowly raised his right hand and pointed his thumb at Lesavim Levi Lucifer's right arm. Dense bright light gathered at the tip of his thumb. Laser shot. The straight light shot out and pierced towards Lesavim Levi Lucifer. He actually didn't run, perhaps he had seen through life and death. Lesavim Levi Lucifer stood still. His body was only faintly emitting a purple light and unbelievably slowly combusted. Poochie. Lesavim Levi Lucifer's face was as pale as snow. Smoke was coming out of his left shoulder. It seemed that it had been pierced through. Through the thumb-sized hole, one could see the sky on the other side. This guy, Dustless frowned tightly. Saying that Lesavim Levi Lucifer had seen through life and death, Dustless would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. How could an ambitious person give up life so easily? Especially Lesavim Levi Lucifer, who was determined to perish together with Dustless. It was impossible for him to die. He seems to be combusting his body. No, he seems to be burning his soul. Dustless stared at Levi Lucifer and felt that something was wrong. "Huh? Are you scared? Huh, this is what you get for angering me." Lesavim Levi Lucifer laughed wildly and said, "Originally, this was used to deal with the Great Red, but you are at least on the same level as the Great Red, so the main character can only be changed to you. This is a super monster sealed in the Bible, at the cost of my soul." As if he could see the miserable state of Dustless's death, Lesavim Levi Lucifer's face twisted with laughter. Used to deal with the Great Red? Hearing this, Dustless instinctively thought of Samuel the Dragon Devourer, but he shook his head decisively. After all, he wasn't a dragon. Samuel the Dragon Devourer was only effective against the dragon race. He was the natural enemy of dragons, but to suppress Dustless was no different from a fool's dream. Could it be? With a flash of shrewdness in his eyes, Dustless suddenly remembered what Lesavim Levi Lucifer said just now. There was only one monster sealed in the Bible so far, Beast King 666. In the original work, Lesavim Levi Lucifer did use his soul to awaken the Beast King 666, but he was killed by Hyodo Issei in the end. No wonder you are so confident. With such a trump card, you can't be careless at all. Dustless patted his head and showed an expression of fear. But no matter how he tried to hide it, the anticipation that was exposed made Lesavim Levi Lucifer so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. That was the legendary Beast King 666, not some random person. At least, he should show an expression of fear. What's with this cheeky smile? Not serious at all. Buzz buzz buzz. At the same time, a large-scale magic circle appeared in the void. The range was as large as a few hundred meters. It was the first time Dustless saw such an exaggerated magic circle that covered the sky. Woo woo woo, a deafening roar came from the surface of the magic circle. The majestic roar was awe-inspiring, as if it was the ruler of the sky. Their ears were numb and they felt dizzy. The terrifying aura swept across the world. Anyone who felt the waves could not help but lower their head. They were inexplicably terrified. What the hell is that? Seraphil, who rushed over, was stunned. Her little face was pale, and her body involuntarily hid behind Dustless. Even if the super creature in the magic circle had not appeared yet, Seraphil was sure that this was an enemy beyond her knowledge. It seems to be called Beast King 666. It seems to be on the same level as the Great Red. Dustless lazily hugged his head with both hands and said without changing his expression. Beast King 666. On the same level as the Great Red? Seraphil staggered and almost fell. She looked at Dustless with a conflicted expression. If that was the case, the two of them should run away now and unite with other mythological systems and powerhouses of other forces, instead of looking at Dustless's expectant expression. What are you worried about? My bodyguard is enough to deal with him. Dustless waved his hand and patted Seraphil's shoulder. Bodyguard? Seraphil was stunned when she heard that. She subconsciously looked around. A black shadow just happened to pounce at her. It was so fast that Seraphil only felt a black wind blow past. Chapter 1395. Seraphil was depressed. Since when were there so many unknown powerhouses in the world? Demon King level players seemed to have been reduced to street trash. Dustless being a freak was one thing, but she also threw out Lesivim as a freak. Beast King 666 was also speechless. After all, he was on the same level as the Great Red, the real Red Dragon God Emperor known as DXD. But who was this guy that suddenly appeared? And he was so strong that she couldn't even catch his speed. She's a girl? Seraphil paused and looked at the end of the black wind trail. The girl with black hair dancing in the wind was slim and graceful. Her expression was emotionless, and her clean and white cheeks were like gems. What was most surprising was that the girl was not afraid of Beast King 666's aura. This is the leader of disaster, the infinite dragon god Orpheus? After being stunned for a few seconds, Seraphil revealed the girl's identity and then asked with a trembling voice, She's your bodyguard? I must have heard wrong. You don't believe me? Dustless curled his lips and said disapprovingly, to be honest, the Great Red, she's also my summoned beast. With a proud expression, Dustless looked at Seraphil in high spirits. His appearance was like a villain, and it gave people the feeling that he deserved a beating. Infinite dragon god Orpheus? Lesivim also exclaimed. His face turned green as he questioned, as the leader of Disaster Orb, how dare you betray us so blatantly? How dare you? Damn bastard, I don't understand. What's so special about this man? Could he be the illegitimate son of the god of creation? Lesivim's face was gloomy as if he had eaten 10 tons of flies. It was as ugly as it could be. It seemed that all the good things in the world happened to Dustless. Damn it. Lesivim roared at the sky, full of desolation. He sacrificed his soul to awaken Beast King 666 and hoped that he could kill Dustless, this annoying cockroach. Infinite dragon god Orpheus' betrayal shattered his hopes. Although Beast Emperor 666 was powerful, it was impossible for him to suppress the infinite dragon god Orpheus. If the two of them were to fight, Beast Emperor 666 would only be on par with Orpheus. Thinking about how he had sacrificed his soul for nothing, Lesivim's face twitched, and he was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Ao. The Beast Emperor 666 completely emerged from the huge magic formation. Its huge body was even taller than the Great Red. It was several hundred meters tall, and it was only a little shorter than Dustless' complete body Susanu. An ugly monster with several heads was instantly exposed. Its invincible aura swept across the entire underworld. Woo woo woo. Beast Emperor 666 roared once again. Although he didn't intentionally target anyone, the shockwaves from his roar still turned into a world-destroying shockwave that spread in all directions. Even if the moon hasn't fallen, the underworld is probably done for after this battle. Seraphil could not help but smile bitterly and lower her head in silence. In front of this group of people, her status as the Demon King had plummeted, and she had no right to speak. Other than Lesivim, who was about to die from self-immolation, everyone else was stronger than her. This guy, Dustless, carefully stared at Beast Emperor 666. After a while, he waved his hand and said with a face full of disgust, "This ugly guy is Beast Emperor 666. What a bummer. One look and I can tell that he's a big idiot. He doesn't deserve to be my summoned beast. Orpheus, hurry up and kill him." If I summon him out to fight, I will definitely be isolated and treated as an alien. You, Orpheus, who was naturally adorable, twitched her mouth. Her expressionless face had a touch of helplessness. She was also deeply troubled by Dustless's Chinibu personality. Ao. Somehow, Beast Emperor 666 seemed to understand Dustless's mockery. One of his heads roared a few times, then he bared his teeth at Dustless. Then, he opened his mouth and a huge flame fell down. Idiot, taking the initiative to provoke me, you will only die faster. Giving a hopeless look, Dustless also launched an incomparably powerful attack to give a biting cold counterattack. You just came out, and you don't even have time to take a few breaths before you die. It's really hard for you. Even a cold person like me can't help but sympathize with you. The Rinnegan Sharingan was exposed in the air, staring at the falling fireball. Wuchen responded softly. Tomb of Samsara border prison. The sky was quiet, but the falling fireball instantly exploded without any warning. Everyone was dumbfounded, including the heads of Beast Emperor 666's main body. They were all dumbfounded. Others didn't understand what happened, but Dustless, who saw through Rinnegan's Sharingan, witnessed everything with his own eyes. The flame attack was scattered and destroyed by his shadow. In the invisible world, Dustless's shadow used complete Kinsusanua to confront Beast Emperor 666. He had an ignorant expression on his face, and he didn't know who did it. Full of flaws, a good opportunity. Orpheus's cute little face caught Beast Emperor 666's flaw. She raised her harmless fist and punched at Beast Emperor 666's many heads. Boom boom boom. A large ripple appeared in the void, and it spread at a speed beyond the naked eye. It gave the feeling that the sky of the whole world was trembling because of Orpheus's punch. At the same time, Dustless increased the output of his eye power. His shadow controlled complete Kinsusanu, and under the double attack, Beast Emperor 666 was instantly unlucky. Especially Dustless's shadow, he couldn't deal with it at all. Chapter 1396. If he could see or feel the attack, he could still barely defend and counterattack. However, if he couldn't see or feel the attack, he definitely couldn't counterattack. Facing the shadow of Tomb of Reincarnation, Beast Emperor 666 was instantly doomed. Pfft. Dustless's shadow controlled the complete body Kinsusanu and raised his sword. He channeled his strength to the maximum and slashed at Beast Emperor 666's body. Beast Emperor 666 was instantly split into two. Bang bang bang. The body that was a few hundred meters tall was mercilessly cut in half. The body that was as big as a mountain fell to the ground. The earth shook and the mountains shook. It was chaos. Bang bang bang. Ka ka ka. At the same time, the attack of the infinite dragon god Orpheus suddenly arrived. This Lolita dragon looked harmless and was often good at acting cute. However, when she attacked, there was no hesitation at all. Beast Emperor 666's lower body that was cut in half was smashed into pieces by her. Gulp. Witnessing this scene, Lezavim's throat suddenly choked. Looking at the miserable Beast Emperor 666, his own soul had been burned to nothing. He suddenly realized that he had suffered a loss. Is this really Beast Emperor 666 that's comparable to the Great Red? Lezavim's eyes were filled with doubt. If it was Beast Emperor 666, it was too weak to be beaten up by Dustless and Orpheus. He didn't even know who the enemy was before his body was inexplicably cut in half. Still not dead? Sensing that Lezavim's soul was not completely burned, Dustless wanted to help him. He waved his hand and a pink light flew out. Pathbreaker 54, Waste Flame. At this moment, Lezavim was like a fish on a chopping board. He could only watch the incoming attack. He couldn't even free his hands to counterattack. His expression was very weak and weak. Boom boom boom. The burning Lezavim exploded and was completely engulfed in the flames. Roar roar roar. The crippled Beast Emperor 666 roared to the sky. His collapsed wounds miraculously healed. He winked proudly and arrogantly. His nondescript head also recovered to its original state. This guy, his ability is somewhat similar to my super regeneration. Dustless frowned. Perhaps Beast Emperor 666's strongest point wasn't his attack power, but his instant recovery ability. Everyone would die from exhaustion. No wonder it can only be sealed. This kind of ability is a headache for the native gods of this world. Dustless had some understanding of the gods of this world. His attacks were rather monotonous, and he used the same few moves over and over again. It's a little tricky. Orpheus moved to Dustless's side. It would be difficult for him to destroy Beast Emperor 666. Its recovery ability was too overpowered. It could instantly restore itself to its original state. Troublesome. Dustless sneered and said sarcastically, "If that's all he has, I can tell you clearly that this ugly emperor is going to die today." As an invader from another dimension, Dustless had trampled on 3 worlds in a row. What kind of strange abilities had he not seen before? An unlimited recovery ability was nothing. At least Dustless would have no problem dealing with him. Listen up. Whether it's sealing you or killing you, I have 100 ways to make you wish you were dead. With both hands, Dustless was even more ruthless this time. In the world of the Tomb of Reincarnation, there were suddenly a few more shadows. There were a total of 12 shadows. And they were using the exact same move at the same time. Would release, immortal art, true 1,000 hands. Beast Emperor 666's body was very big, but there was a gap between him and Senja Hashirama's strongest technique, true 1,000 hands. He was half a head shorter. Especially when he was surrounded by 12 true 1,000 hands, he looked even more small and fragile. He could be annihilated under countless fists at any time. Of course, Orpheus, who didn't have Rinnegan or Rikudo Senjutsu, couldn't see this scene. Turn into foam for me, damn beast that doesn't look like a human or a ghost. As Dustless's voice fell, all his shadows began to form hand seals, responding to Dustless's call, and giant fists all flew out. Buddha on top. Whoosh. The invisible world of Tomb of Reincarnation was filled with this kind of dense air-piercing sound. Looking up, row after row of huge fists were flying towards Beast Emperor 666. 12 true 1,000 hands were attacking at the same time. This scene had never happened before. However, such a shocking scene was only seen by Dustless. After all, he was the only one in the world who had Rinnegan and Rikudo Senjutsu. Bang! 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 Even so, the scene that appeared in the eyes of Orpheus and Seraph was extremely exaggerated. Ka ka ka. The Beast Emperor's body, which was hundreds of meters tall, collapsed inexplicably. He was beaten to a bloody pulp. Pieces of flesh and bones flew everywhere, but Orpheus and Seraph couldn't see who had attacked him. The only thing left in the world was Beast Emperor 666's painful howl. Just a reckless beast, I give you a little sunshine, and you're brilliant. Do you really think you're invincible? Ridiculous. Pursing his lips, Wuchen did not hide the sneer on his face. Boom boom boom. The ruthless destructive blows continued. The 12 shadows launched true 1,000 hands at the same time to deal a fatal blow to Beast Emperor 666. Ow ow ow. The Beast Emperor howled in agony. His bones and flesh had been smashed into fist-sized pieces. He was in a state worse than death. His hysterical howls of agony resounded through the sky. Even Orpheus, who was simple and ignorant of the world, frowned slightly. She and Seraph looked at Dustless at the same time. Both of them felt that the man in front of them was too terrible. His strength was unfathomable. Offending him was tantamount to putting an end to this world. Just like the scene in front of them, they were beaten black and blue, but they didn't even know how to do it. Chapter 1397. Beast Emperor 666 was the only one who received such treatment after being attacked by 12 shadows consecutively. He was so happy that he didn't want it anymore. That horrifying scream made one's scalp numb and filled with despair. Ow ow ow. Woo woo woo. Although Beast Emperor 666 was beaten to a pulp, his body could still be repaired. However, he was still unavoidably beaten up. This cycle repeated over and over again. Beast Emperor 666 was extremely miserable. Blood flowed like a river on the ground. His identity was also changed. He became the arrogant one and became the bullied one. Boom boom boom. The 12 shadows, 1,000 hands, was also used up. Only then did the invincible attack stop. Beast Emperor 666 was panting heavily. In the past few minutes, he was almost beaten up dozens of times. Although he could revive each time, the physical damage caused by the physical attacks was real and couldn't be removed. Ow ow ow. Woo woo woo. Several heads stared at Dustless. Their huge eyes were cold. If looks could kill, perhaps Dustless would have been cut into pieces by Beast Emperor 666. Ow 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 ow. Beast Emperor 666 opened his mouth and wanted to take revenge on Dustless. Infinite Dragon God Orpheus, the loyal bodyguard, immediately retaliated. It was one of the strongest moves. Boom boom boom. Rolling golden flames were spat out from Orpheus' mouth. It was just a small ball of fire, but the waves it emitted affected the entire world. Although it wasn't as scary as Zenka no Tachi, the water around it was evaporated. Boom boom boom. The flames hit Beast Emperor 666 head-on. His mighty body was black as if he had just climbed out of the mud. There was a burnt smell all over his body. Don't ignore my existence. Orpheus raised his fist and waved it. He was obviously saying that if you ignore my existence, I will beat you to death. It still doesn't work, Dustless frowned. Beast Emperor 666's burnt wounds healed in the blink of an eye. However, the pain of being beaten up by Orpheus was real. Woo woo woo, Beast Emperor 666 stretched out his head and shouted. It seemed to be saying that none of their moves were effective. There's no limit to his arrogance. Dustless's lips curled up slightly. He ignored the Beast Emperor's furious roar. This guy could only take advantage of him verbally. From the moment he came out until now, he had been the one getting beaten up. Swish. Swish. Enraged, the Beast Emperor lowered its body and opened its mouth to bite Dustless and the others. Its mouth was several meters long. It seemed like he wanted to kill Dustless and Orpheus in one go. Super Shinra Tensei. The 9-tomo reincarnation eye emitted a dangerous fluctuation, an earth-shattering repulsive force erupting. Boom boom boom. A huge crater several dozen kilometers wide appeared on the ground, as if it had been struck by an extraterrestrial meteor. It covered the entire territory of the Gimli family. Even the infinite dragon god Orpheus' cute little face changed slightly, and it could not help but shiver. It could not help but imagine what would happen if it was attacked head-on. Bang bang bang. The Beast Emperor exploded into a bloody mist again, but only a few seconds later, he appeared in front of Dustless again. This guy is indeed a little difficult to deal with. At this point, Dustless had no choice but to admit defeat. This guy was like his 10-tailed body. Even if he was cut into pieces and beaten until only his cells were left, he could still break out of his cocoon and be reborn. This is the fundamental reason why I can only seal him. Orpheus' face always maintained a calm expression. If that's the case, then seal him. Banish him to the universe and let him live a life worse than death. After all, he had already beaten this guy dozens of times, and Dustless' anger had subsided. He could just continue to seal him. Out of sight, out of mind. It's easier said than done. Orpheus raised her voice and was speechless. This was the Beast Emperor 666, an existence that was almost at the same level as her. Sealing him was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Don't worry, I'm very good at sealing. Dustless smiled calmly and then threw a black body into the void. The ground suddenly trembled, and a majestic gravitational force shot down from above. Chibaku Tensei. He used all his strength to cast the Chibaku Tensei, and there was a qualitative change. A large piece of the ground was torn apart, including the Beast Emperor 666, who was a few hundred meters tall. His huge body ignored the existence of gravity and unbelievably floated up. The moment the gravitational sphere appeared, the whole world began to slowly float up. What kind of move is this? Orpheus could no longer maintain her calm expression. For the first time in her life, she was stunned. Not to mention the Beast Emperor 666, even she felt that she was about to be torn apart. The high-density gravitational force enveloped her, and she lost control of her body. This was the situation where Dustless did not deliberately target Orpheus. Otherwise, she might be like the Beast Emperor 666. Ow ow ow. Woo woo woo, the Beast Emperor 666 screamed in panic. He shook and struggled with his huge body, but in the end, it was useless. His body that was a few hundred meters tall gradually merged into the Chibaku Tensei. Seeing that he was about to be sealed, the Beast Emperor 666 had no strength to fight back. Under this destructive gravitational force, it was thousands of times more difficult for him to move his arms and legs. It was even difficult for him to open his mouth to speak, let alone fight back against Dustless. He could only look at the large-scale meteorite that was getting closer and closer in despair. It's over, Dustless's gaze froze slightly. The Beast Emperor 666's body completely disappeared and was sealed inside the Chibaku Tensei. Chapter 1398. The entire world was silent as everyone stared blankly at the meteorite that was expanding in the void. The moon was falling slowly, and Dustless created an even more exaggerated planet with his own strength. This heaven-defying method stunned everyone. Even the infinite dragon god, Orpheus, had his mouth wide open, and his eyes were filled with shock. This was equivalent to indirectly creating a world. It's over, then, there's no need for you to fall. Glancing at the meteorite and the Chibaku Tensei that sealed the Beast King 666, he activated his Tensigen again, and the moon returned to its original orbit. And the poor Beast King 666 was directly exiled into space by Dustless. Time flew, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. The underworld that had been scorched by the last war had begun to be rebuilt, and many areas had been restored to their original appearance. But the painful lessons left behind by the war could not be forgotten. For example, the unexpected death of Sazax. Gilifia, Riaz, and the others, including his mother, were extremely sad. When they found Sazax's body, he was devastated beyond recognition. Inside the luxurious villa of the Gimli family. Can such an unbelievable thing really be done? Riaz's tone was tearful and a little touched, thinking that Dustless was comforting her. Bringing someone back from the dead was too unreal for Tai. Of course, I can use my outer path, reincarnation of heaven, to bring Sazax back to life. Dustless nodded affirmatively. Reviving someone was a piece of cake for him. Watch carefully. With everyone's anticipation, Dustless walked to Sazax's charred body and shouted, "Outer path, reincarnation of heaven." Sazax's body was covered in an emerald light that contained a vast amount of vitality, and his shattered and charred body began to recover. His charred skin also began to heal. Can it really be done? The girls exclaimed, and Riaz were the most excited. Where is this? After a while, Sazax's eyebrows twitched slightly, and then he opened his eyes and looked at the world in front of him in confusion. Am I not dead? And who are you? His words caused Gilifia and Riaz, who were crying tears of joy, to freeze. Is there something wrong with my memory? This has never happened before. Dustless said with a frown. Then he guessed, maybe there's something wrong with his soul. Lezavim and the others were ruthless enough. Just in case, they probably even did something to Sazax's soul. That's enough. Despite her disappointment, Gilifia still walked up to Dustless and thanked him sincerely. Don't worry about it. Dustless smiled. It was just reviving a person. With his eye power, it was a simple and easy task. It's time to take them away. Dustless glanced at the girls and knew that their trip to this world was over. He was about to bring them back to the system and invade the next world. Demon King Seraphil raised her eyebrows and said unhappily, "It's you, not us. Pay attention to the way you speak. If you don't handle it well, others might misunderstand. It's your own business if you refuse." Dustless glanced at Seraphil and said playfully, "But I'll still kidnap you by force." "You. Shameless." Seraphil stomped her feet in frustration. Pfft. The girls couldn't help but laugh. Seraphil was quite the tragedy. As a demon king, she had no choice but to admit defeat when faced with the unreasonable Dustless. Who told him to have the biggest fist? Sazax, Gilifia had a complicated expression. She didn't expect this to happen. She felt a stabbing pain in her heart when Sazax looked at her with those strange eyes. "Seraphil and I will both leave. After that, the Demon King will be alone. Why don't we promote him and let him be a carefree demon god?" Dustless suggested. "And me," Gilifia had yet to finish talking when she was glared at by Dustless. Now that Gilifia was also Dustless's reverse scale, how could he let Gilifia continue to stay in the demon realm? There was no way she could stay. As for Sazax, Dustless didn't feel that he had done anything wrong by reviving him and giving him a unique position as a demon god. Including Seraph's younger sister, Tsang Na Sytry, as well as her large group of dependents, Dustless took them all away. Although he was ready to leave, Dustless wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he went to various mythological systems and wiped out all the messy ones. Dustless didn't even do anything. The infinite dragon god Orpheus and the Great Red were a super combination. Did Dustless need to do anything himself? Obviously, there was no need for that. For example, Hades of the underworld and the Indian mythological systems were even more important targets. In the end, they were all destroyed by Dustless. When it was time to leave, Dustless held a big wedding. After dealing with all the trivial matters, Dustless planned to leave this world with the girls. Almost all the mythological systems had been wiped out. They had all been cruelly killed. Dustless had mercilessly annihilated them all. There was no one who could threaten Sazax at all. Therefore, his position as the demon god could be held comfortably. Chapter 1399. The sun shone brightly in the system world, the sky was cloudless for thousands of miles, and the breeze from afar was unusually refreshing. With a slight sniff, one could not help but indulge in it. Dustless leaned against a tree with a blade of grass in his mouth. Today, the people are so happy, humming a tune out of tune. Dustless's face was full of smiles. Following his line of sight, in the clear pond in front of him, countless beautiful figures rolled together and laughed. Mei Terumi, Hinata Hyuga, Boa Hancock, Robin, Ranjaku Matsumoto, and Riaz and the others who had just joined. Countless beautiful women with hot bodies were laughing and playing around. Really, when I look back, things are still the same, but people have changed. When did my wives become so many? Dustless sighed and suddenly felt that time had passed so quickly. There are indeed a lot. The system consciousness Ling appeared in front of Dustless and nodded. Her phoenix eyes were filled with helplessness. She even suspected that her system world would explode because of Dustless's women if this continued. "I've rested enough for a while, let's change to the next world." Although the corrupt life of drunken stupor was better than living immortals, after a long time, the warlike Dustless was tired and even a little annoyed. "It's all ready." Ling gently waved her hand, and a dark space tunnel appeared next to her, twisting time and space as if the other side was another universe, and there was a strange atmosphere. "I'm really looking forward to it." Standing up and moving around, Dustless strolled to the front of the space tunnel, threw away the blade of grass in his mouth, stared deeply at the women playing in the pond, and jumped in decisively. They got along very well, and there should be no possibility of a harem fire. What kind of world is that? Dustless glanced at Ling, with interest and asked expectantly. It's somewhat similar to the world we're in now. Ling, explained simply. Hearing this, Dustless frowned and fell silent. It seems that it's also a place where all kinds of gods walk around. After saying that, Dustless chatted with System Ling, for a while, and after casually asking around, he jumped into the dark space tunnel. At the same time, in another world, dense forests covered the mountains and fields. As far as the eye could see, the entire world was made up of magnificent mountains and rivers. Immortal mist was faintly discernible, and the towering peaks were faintly discernible. The scenery was too beautiful to behold. Boom! An inexplicable loud noise came from the sky, and all the birds and beasts in the forest fled at the sound of the noise. The huge tremor tore apart the clouds and mist in the sky. In an instant, the sky was clear for thousands of miles. Ripples appeared in the void without any warning. The ripples expanded rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, they occupied a large part of the world. This kind of supernatural imagination is obviously not man-made. In other words, is this the god of disobedience? Suddenly, a gust of wind blew across the vast sky. Due to the speed of the wind, it was impossible to tell who the black shadow that was riding the wind was. Can you tear space apart? Who exactly was he? Which mythological system are you from? Don't disappoint me. The breeze stopped moving, and the vague voice became much clearer. It was pleasant to the ears, and it was most likely a young girl. Gotcha. A black hole was torn out of the void, and an afterimage fell out of it. You came out? It seems to be a god that I have never seen before. No matter which god you are, you dared to invade my territory. If I don't teach you a lesson, how can I establish myself in this world in the future? The pleasant voice sounded again. The goddess was slim and elegant, and her expression was indifferent as she stood in the void. Her beautiful eyes swept across the sky, and her dark eyes were majestic. Her whole body was shrouded in a sharp aura. Taking a closer look, the young girl was wearing a white traditional Chinese dress. Her delicate face was as delicate as a jade carving, flawless. Her tall nose was just right, and her delicate thin lips were like a blooming flower. Her silky black hair was braided into 3 braids and stood up. The girl was Luo Hao, who was at the top of the Junlin martial arts. At the same time, she was also the leader of the Saint sect. Just when she was sleeping comfortably, a loud bang came from the sky. The void was violently torn apart, and high-density energy swept across the sky. It was difficult for Luo Hao to sleep peacefully. This was the most blatant provocation. How could she turn a blind eye to it? Plop! The black shadow that fell out of the spatial tunnel just happened to fall into the pool. His body was dirty, as if he had been struck by lightning. His hair was messy like a chicken's nest, and his fair cheeks were also dark and swarthy. Damn, why am I so unlucky every time I transmigrate? If I don't encounter a spatial storm, I will be affected by all sorts of apocalyptic disasters in the universe. This is an unlucky year. The figure that fell out of the spatial tunnel was dustless. Even though he knew that he would encounter all sorts of disasters when transmigrating, and he was fully prepared, he still ended up in such a sorry state. Yo, you are that beggar who doesn't follow. Where did you come from? An afterimage flashed across the sky, and Luo Hao's figure appeared above Dustless's head. Her stern eyes looked at Dustless, and her delicate face was replaced with a strange expression. Beggar? With his old face twitching, Dustless stared at the floating girl with a gloomy expression. After staring at her for a while, he suddenly felt that she looked familiar. He thought of an extremely narcissistic girl and asked tentatively, Luo Hao, Great Sect Master Luo? Hearing this, Luo Hao's fair face flashed with astonishment and surprise. There were only a few people who could recognize her. You know this sect master? Could it be that you are my loyal fan? You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.